Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 12 of Red Leaf Retrocast Anime Edition, also known as Worldwide Weekcast. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, and Stitcher, and a whole bunch of other sites because they seem to multiply by the day. I'm Hiki and I'm joined here yet again by Joe, also known as Senpai.
Hey!
JD?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay. JD didn't interrupt me this time, but for some reason he didn't answer me. Sure. And Tori.
Hey!
And we're gonna have some nice discussions here today. Again, we have some interesting topics to talk about, and also we're gonna review two anime at the time. This time, it's actually the first season and the second season, Bubblegum Crisis and Bubblegum Crash. Before we start, it's also important to remember that this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for our sponsor, David's Cheap. If you are in North America, you can go look for a store, and even if you can find a store, there's not a store in your city or your state, you can go to their website. They have a bunch of interesting and good-looking cheese there, which I visit quite often and really wish I could put my hands on it, but unfortunately I can't. So if you have the opportunity to do so, don't waste it. So, how's everyone going? Starting with JD, because I think he has the most things going on in his life right now.
Please, bitch about my state. I'm so ready.
Okay, so there's definitely some reverse culture shock happening, going from the extremely nice country of Canada to the northeast of the United States, where people have now replaced the word sorry with go fuck yourself.
Yeah, the word with the phrase.
But I am settling in. There's still a bunch of boxes to unpack, but I'm pretty much all settled.
If your mail carrier
big
suck,
issue
that'd
with
be nice.
my mail key happening.
I told you to move where I was your mailman. I told you to do that. If I was your mailman, this wouldn't have been a problem.
Well, you're not, and it is a problem.
Too bad you chose the wrong city to live in. Just saying.
No, I'm liking it. It's just a little bit different to find my way around. The city's not a grid like a lot of the other cities I've lived in, so everything's very curvy and kind of doesn't really go anywhere intuitively that I'm not used to yet.
Yeah, all our roads and rotaries were set up originally for horses, and then eventually we just kind of paved them, and now they're roads.
Yeah, that would make sense why it's so complicated.
Yeah.
I did go to the Boston Bruins game last night. They played the Toronto Maple Leafs and got their asses handed to them, and it was amazing to go see. I went with my very nice mother, who has been visiting me this past week. And besides that, joined some bowling leagues, went to duckpin bowling, which is very unique to the Northeast, and
Much
very into that,
candlestick.
so I can't wait to play that more.
Yeah, and the job interview next week. So good luck with that as well.
Yes.
And you,
Yeah, we'll see how that
and you,
goes.
Joe.
Hopefully they
how
don't
you go?
offer you minimum wage.
Yep. How are you, Joe? How are we going?
Doing all right. I went to the Perfect Circle concert on Wednesday. I recovered from that basically immediately. It was great. Been playing Skullgirls with you, as you know.
Yeah, I know.
Tried my damnedest to not watch any anime from this season, and it's going very well. There's some strong fatigue coming from just releasing anime for me. I can't bring myself to give a shit about it. So instead of doing that, I just stop, and then eventually I'll come back, care again, and I'll get back into it. But for the sake of the podcast, I watched Bubblegum Crisis and Crash, and spoilers for later. I loved it. Tori, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Not really much has been going on for me. Like, kind of just the same. School, anime school. Bitching about bitching. Kind of wanted to take up some things about the podcast and whatnot, but, other than that, nothing really.
Nothing really. Yeah, that's the same.
How
Yeah,
about you,
that's
Mickey?
the same for me. I've been studying. From the beginning of the day until the beginning of the other day, because I'm sleeping 1 a.m. every single day because of that. Tests are coming up. I really need to study. I need to start get focused. It's been like 2 weeks since I've watched anime. I'm keeping up with some of the series, but most of them I have a huge backlog, and I probably won't watch much until the end of November. That's mean I'll probably have to marathon 15 hours in one day again. That's gonna be fun. You guys are all you guys are all invited to see me try.
If you guys hear a bunch of rumbles, that's actually the people above me are stomping for some goddamn reason. So, sorry about that in advance, but I can't really go up there because I'm kind of recording.
They're probably cleaning the house, something like that.
They might be. I mean, it is noon on a Sunday, so they could do whatever they want.
That's true.
It's funny you mentioned you're 2 weeks behind. I'm actually 1 week behind myself. But that's okay. I've been replacing that with hanging out with family, getting a lot of things around the house done, or apartment. And watching, my mom and I started watching Westworld.
Oh,
That's a good one.
yeah.
That is a good one.
Yeah,
There's a
you're
Brazilian guy in that.
I could turn around and ask her, but I know she likes it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's something that I could see being an anime. It seems right up that kind of alley, but it's already good the way it is. So it's just an idea that was floating over. And then we both went and saw the movie Murder on the Orient Express, the old Agatha Christie book.
Yeah.
Okay.
It got really bad ratings, and Rotten Tomatoes is rating it really low. But we're convinced, at least I'm convinced, that it's because it's not a Marvel movie or DC comic book hero, so nobody likes it. But it's really good. I really enjoyed the movie. It's a really good murder mystery.
Yeah, I'm thinking of watching that next week between tests. Just to relax and watch something that is not actually anime or animated for once.
Like Sword Art Online, Ordinal Story.
We're gonna get you that. We're gonna get you that, okay? Well, there's the Pokemon movie. The Pokemon movie is going on at the movie theater, but I really don't want to watch it. Just another reminder,
It's Pokemon.
you can find those guys.
Pokemon,
At Twitter?
digital monsters, Pokemon are the champions.
Digimon sucks so much. Although I've watched everything.
Shut up.
You can find those guys on Twitter at Fullmetal_Lex for Joel, at BowlingJD for JD, and at TorX.
Just spell it.
I'll get it right. Hang on.
Give up.
Thor Extra. Oh, god damn it. I forgot the last thing. Thor Extra something. Unfortunately, I don't have it.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah,
Don't worry
it'll
about
be
it.
on the description or show notes or whatever. Unfortunately, I don't have a Twitter, but you can find me as well everyone here on my anime list. And special in our group, you just need to go on clubs, search for www.weebs or www.weebs or Reddit for Retrocast. You're gonna find us as well on Discord. So yeah, just like we briefly talked about Sword Art Online Ordinal Scale, this is not the topic of the episode, but just a little bit, just a little preview. Sword Art Online Ordinal Scale is in the playlist for the nominations for the Oscar of Best Animation. But before we talk about that, let's go with some updates. The quest updates of Tori and JD. So, who's going to start?
JD, do you have anything to say?
No, I haven't watched anything other than podcast stuff, so I don't have an update.
All right then. Okay then.
I
Well,
did.
then I guess
You know what? I will cut you off. I did watch Konosuba.
that is true. You did watch.
I have
Konosuba,
nothing to
but
say.
is
Let
that
me
on
cut
your
you off,
quest?
though.
Yeah. Is that on your quest, JD? Is it on your fucking quest, huh?
It's not on the quest, but I did end up watching them both seasons 1 and 2, and I was really into it.
It's really cool.
It's so funny. It doesn't seem like something that I would like, but
Comedy?
holy crap, I laughed nonstop.
JD, what did I tell you? I said I was sure you were gonna like it, so you're wrong.
Well-
that seems like right up your alley.
You convinced me to go through with it, and I was laughing the whole time. I have no favorite character because I like them all equally. I think the show would hurt without any single one of them.
So how'd you feel about the
They're all
succubus
assholes.
episode?
Even Darkness? Yeah.
Come on, darkness is funny.
Yeah, I mean, she has her moments, I guess.
Come on, a masochistic tank. You know.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, she doesn't do shit.
No, she doesn't. Yeah, no. Well, I mean, let's see. For my quest, what I've been watching, well, I mean, what I watched since last time has basically been Pat Labor and Gundam. So I've been into the mech on my quest lately. So I watched Pat Labor, the OVA, early days, and I also watched Pat Labor, the movie 1, which, you know, I've heard about before. It didn't really seem like my sort of thing, but when I did this quest, I was like, you know what? I've heard a lot of people talk about this. Seems fun. I'll watch it. I wasn't sure what I was getting in for, so I was kind of shocked to realize that it's kind of a comedy. So I didn't think that, but hey, it worked. It was fairly silly, but at the same time, it manages to balance its comedy and like serious moments really well. So it never feels like when something happens like it's out of place or like it all of a sudden gets overly serious. The cast characters, they're fun, you know, can be kind of sarcastic, especially even in the face of danger. It's like, yeah, I like that. I like characters like that, and they're fun. So, yeah, Pat Labor Movie 1 and the early days OVA.
I'm a big fan
really
of them
like
myself.
Yeah, I would recommend them. I'm also, later on in the quest, not that far away now, I'm also going to be watching Pat Labor the Movie 2, so more Pat Labor on the horizon, and I'm looking forward to that.
I want to watch that second one with you.
Yeah. Pat Labor is sitting on my plan to watch.
I'll try to remember that.
I always like to.
I'll try to remember.
I like to explain Pat Labor as it could take place in the Ghost in the Shell universe, but it's actually funny.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cyberpunk going on.
Isn't that the same thing as that one anime that came out last year? You guys won't remember. But anyway, it's from the same creator of
200 series came out last year.
Yeah, no, it's from the same creator of Ghost in the Shell, but it's like the early days, and it's on an island, and it's just comedy and some ecchi yori shit going on with little girls. Anyway, Pat Labor.
Tori, that's right up your alley.
No, it's not. Shut up. Yeah. Anyways, moving on with my quest update. I also watched.
Ninth Mass.
I also watched War in the Pocket.
Damn it.
Yeah. I also watched War in the Pocket. Now,
That's a good one.
You might know I'm not a big fan of Gundam. I watched a bit more Gundam lately, but I'm still not huge on Gundam. Like, War in the Pocket was what I assumed to be like my last chance at getting into Gundam, because it's, I don't know, it's more Gundam, but it has a different focus. It's focused more on like on how war affects the civilians and whatnot. And I liked it. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was fun seeing people get blown up. I fucked up. Anyways.
Ground units are bust.
Yeah. But ultimately, it's still one of those things like, even though it's not the only Gundam I enjoy, I also enjoy 08MS Team and things like that. But, I don't know. Gundam it doesn't do anything for me, and that's kind of just goes hand in hand with most mecha. I'm not into mecha. I'm not into giant robots. So it's like it's an uphill battle. Let's put it that way. It's not something I would normally watch. It's not something I would pick to watch myself. It's mostly just like, oh, I have to pick something. Well,
at this point, it seems like if you're gonna watch a mech anime, it has to have some sort of unique spin on it, such as Iron Blooded Orphans focuses on the kids themselves and their situation rather than the robots. Like Pat Labor needs a lot of spoofy comedy. Did you like Knights of Sidonia?
I did like Knights of Sidonia.
That's not a mech.
Basically, it's not a mech,
No.
but like
It's a space opera.
thing is, yeah,
It's closer to a
but
space opera, yeah.
You're right about that, like, because I'm not gonna enjoy mech for mech's sake. Like I've said, the what I like to coin the mech fan service, which is you get in certain mech series where it's like they're nerdgasming over the specs of a robot.
Yeah, engineer jerking.
I see so many like Gundam fans and mecha fans in general just jerk off to this, and I'm sitting there like, I'm genuinely bored because I don't care. Like you're saying, it's not necessarily like I don't understand, but it's like ultimately I'm just like, yep, okay, newer specs, better specs, got it. It's like no, but you have to get into the details of what it is. Like yeah, sure.
But you enjoyed Gurren Lagann, which is just a super robot show.
I haven't seen Gurren Lagann.
Well, then I guess you haven't seen it.
Exactly.
Oh my god,
I
Tori,
did
come
enjoy
on.
Gunbuster
You should just
and Eyebuster.
go out of the call, watch Thing and Top, and come back, okay? We won't wait you, but next episode will be in anyway.
I will watch it.
What I'm in
Just
2008.
not yet. Yeah. It's coming up. Don't
He's in
worry
the
about
same
it.
answer pool as I am. Oh, you should watch this. All right, I'll watch it in maybe 3 years.
No. It is on the quest. I am getting to it. I just haven't gotten there yet.
So you're pushed through the 90s, or as I guess you've been calling it,
No,
my decade,
I'm
going well.
well. Yeah, no. I just entered. I just entered the 90s. I also watched obviously Bubblegum Crisis on my quest, but I refused. I jumped over that to because we're going to talk about that later. But yeah, and so now I pushed into the 90s. I'm still on the first show of the 90s. I'm still on Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water, which is a lot of fun. It's been a bit after they kind of got to the like deserted island. It got a bit boring, but then all of a sudden, somewhere along the line, Hideaki Anno decided to do drugs and shit got whack. That's the best way I can explain it. Stuff started happening and it got extremely silly and just like I can't put this. I can't put proper words to this. I'm gonna have to talk about this more once I've seen it all and kind of thought things over. But so far it's like I basically just describe it as somebody's acid dream.
That sounds amazing.
It ain't
It
bad.
is amazing. I like it.
Hideaki Anno's wild ride with mushrooms.
Yeah. What I especially love is because, like I said, I kind of liken Nadia, at least parts of it, to Miyazaki's Future Boy Conan, because it has certain similarities and reminds me of it at times. Ooh. It's not a copy and it's not the same show. It doesn't do the same things, but it reminds me of it, which is why I kind of find it funny as well, because, Miyazaki and his goddamn nature. Then you have Anno, and he's kind of, especially lately, especially in the last episode I watched, he kind of feels like he just gave Miyazaki the middle finger by basically just tearing down old trees and everything. It's like, yeah, let's create this vehicle that fucking runs around and chops down old trees and everything. And I'm like, wow.
And it's like some Captain Planet bad guy machine.
Yeah. Oh, it's so awesome. I love it.
It produces nothing but smog and it just burns trees.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Now I'm even more interested in watching it.
Oh yeah, no, it is worth the ride in my opinion.
Just watch everything
It
Gainax
does
did in
have
the
moments.
90s. That's all you gotta do. Everything they did was good.
It has moments.
Fine.
Yeah. It has moments where it slows down and it goes kind of, I think the pacing is kind of uneven because it has times where it feels like it almost stands still. And Nadia herself, she can be a bit of a annoyance because she is extremely high maintenance. She is kind of impossible to please in any way. And
Women, am I
but
right?
other than that, she's got dark skin, so she's obviously Senpai's favorite girl.
Hey.
No, but Nadia's fine. She's fine. She's just, you just need to get over that. You're killing people. It's like, yes, war.
Or
What
bad.
do you do?
War never changes.
Yep. So yeah,
Did you know that you kill people in war?
No, you're a murderer, JD.
Okay, Amuro's
Oh
mom,
my
it's
God,
fine.
you're right.
That was Nadia. Okay, get it right.
I don't see a difference.
Choose the right pacifist character.
I don't see a difference.
But yeah, that's basically all I have to update for my quest.
Well then, it seems we have some questions as well. Some of them I think they were deleted at some point. If Senpai wants to quote me, he can quote me and call out the person who possibly deleted the question.
I won't.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
worry.
Oh, you won't, huh?
Good, because
I
I'm
might
gonna
read it.
announce
No,
whoever send us the question anyway. A while ago, you asked, who's worse of a person or a better person? Umaru from Himoto Umaru-chan or Gabriel from Gabriel's Dropout? And I said, I answered briefly and said I would answer in the podcast. Umaru is worse than Gabriel. This is a fact. There is no way. Umaru is a selfish prick, and Gabriel just wants to be alone. That is the major difference. Gabriel is a douchebag. She is a douchebag, yes, but she's only a douchebag because people go to her and ask her to do stuff, and really bothers her so much, especially Satania. Satania is a prick as well. She's a good character, don't get me wrong, but she's a prick. And, Gabriel just wants to go home, play games, maybe go to school, and doesn't want to be bothered. But every single person in the fucking anime wants to bother her. And then what she does, she's sincere and says, go fuck you, I don't really want to interact with anyone, I just want to play my games. While Umaru just want everything to be in her favor, especially her brother. She acts very selfish towards her brother, and her brother is a very nice guy. He tries to do everything. He tries to get along. He buys games to play with her sometimes, even though he doesn't like it. And the only thing he gets in response is, why the fuck did you didn't buy cola for me? She goes to her friends and it's like, oh, my friend Kitty saw me being a fucking potato couch. What am I going to do? Oh no, I'm Umaru's little sister. No. Oh, Sylphie saw me playing games. What am I gonna say? Oh, I'm this masked person called UMR. That is not right. And she always juked them for some reason. In the second season, she's way better. But because of the first season, I can't say how she's behaving is because she's becoming a better person or because she wants her brother attention all to herself, being more selfish than usually she is. There was a instance in the second season where the fact that she lied to everyone around her would bite her, will come back to bite her, and she will be in a fucking stressful situation. She, for some reason, joked it. She avoided like a pro, like not even kidding. I was impressed by the amount of bullshit that scene was. But because of that, at least Gabriel is sincere. If you don't mess up with Gabriel, she won't do shit. She would just play games. That is her thing. While Umaru wants her brother out to herself, but when she interacts with him, she's just a prick. When she interacts with other people, she tends to lie to them. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's make her a better person than another person that just wants to be alone and in peace. That is my answer. And please do not delete questions.
Because Hiki has a goddamn good memory, I
have.
Yeah.
If we're going just by word of mouth, Gabriel doesn't really have much negative from what I heard, but I definitely hear many things negative about Umaru. Just being a straight up annoying person.
I dropped both of these shows really early, but I can kind of tell Gabriel is the better character, or the better person overall. It's pretty simple. She's an angel, which kind of default makes her the better person than this little fucking demon spawn who just uses her brother every step of the way.
Yeah. Nah,
pretty cut and dry.
Yep. I've not seen either of these shows, are you? But basically, as you can probably tell based on all the gifs I have of Umaru dying, fuck Umaru. Umaru's the worst.
That one fortune
she's just a little trash monster we all are on the inside now. Stop it. The girl from Watamote is the trash monster we all are inside. Umaru's garbage.
No. What about the socks,
Yeah.
though?
I'm glad you answered your question. So let's go to the next one. And it's Skip saying, if you eat McDonald's every day without exercising or eating anything healthy, is it suicide? Not really. Only if you want to kill yourself. Then it's suicide. Although there are better, ways of killing yourself, just like jumping out of a bridge or jumping out of a building, cutting your wrists, hanging yourself, putting...
You don't recommend any of those things, really, though.
Putting your head in the oven.
Putting your head in the oven, buying some charcoal and a tent, putting a fucking barbecue thing inside of the tent, closing it, and, just sleep for a while, shooting yourself in the...
Putting a muffler.
Yeah.
Putting a hose from your muffler into your car.
Yeah.
Fall asleep in your car.
Living in an apartment where the carbon monoxide alarm is on the ceiling.
Shooting yourself in the head, some poison, cyanide, There are other ways.
Paying someone to murder
We
you.
got the point.
Yeah. But if you
I think
if
they
you
got the
really
point.
want to suffer and you really want to kill yourself, sure, eat McDonald's every day, becomes a morbid fat man, and say I'm happy now because I'm gonna die in possibly 30 years. Yeah.
It's a very slow death, but you might enjoy a little bit of it, much like
No,
smoking.
you won't.
Much
Wow.
more.
You're eating McDonald's. There's nobody who enjoys that.
That's right.
Come on.
Come on. Shit's gross. No, suicide's entirely about intention.
had some-
if you intend
I've
to
had-
kill yourself, then yes, it's suicide. If you don't intend to kill yourself, then no. Because otherwise, accidents would be considered suicide. Oh no, I fell off the roof and died. That's suicide. No, it's not, because you didn't try to kill yourself. But if you threw yourself off the roof, that's suicide. You killed yourself.
I want to answer the question with a question myself.
Oh.
Is it suicide to be poor?
In America, yes.
Yeah,
So
you
don't
can't
be
afford to
fucking poor.
sick. You can't afford to be sick, so that is, yeah.
Yeah, so don't be poor.
It's a form of it.
Well, is it suicide? That's not the question. Is it suicide?
You made the choice to be poor.
Oh, clearly.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, I don't consider it suicide. I consider it just a, poor life choice.
A poor life choice for a slow death.
That is a good way of looking at it. Yes.
Oh god. I like that question.
Really makes you think.
We
doesn't it?
need more questions like
By
that.
the way, if you're interested on ways of suicide and not to kill yourself, there's a Japanese book about it, and it shows you like
What you do,
step
you go
by
into the
step.
forest, right?
Yeah, no, not the dark forest near the Monte Fuji. You go. There's actually a book. I don't remember the name, but there's it's 100 ways of committing suicide, and it shows you step by step. On that forest, you might find a bunch of those books. Well, you can actually find a bunch of those books. Just curiosity about Japan, I think you can import those books, but don't kill yourself.
This is
Do
some
not kill yourself.
morbid shit, guy.
So, if you're struggling with depression or suicide, what would be a good anime to watch?
British guy.
Welcome to the NHK.
Yeah, well, I mean, depends on how depressed you are. Because, it might give you some ideas that are not very good, like stalking little kids and drinking yashka tea, which is a very heavy, strong, hallucinogenic tea. Makes you go kind of crazy. Some people in the cold in the Amazon does that. Some people die drowning because of the tea. Anyway, but yeah, welcome to NHK. It's kind of a good one. Maybe a bunch of moe shit. See that life might be good.
If you're contemplating
there's 2 shows
suicide,
going
just
on.
call the fucking hotline.
I think there's 2 shows going on this season that you could watch. Magus Bride and March Comes In Like a Lion. Just depression,
Bride's a good one.
suicide, just all kinds of thoughts, and you'd be able to heavily relate to the shows and maybe see life in a different light.
Possibly.
Yeah, I can really relate to being able to use magic.
Yeah, we all can.
I can relate
It's
to being a
called-
giant bear man in the woods in England, no less.
Try selling your body. Is that all you're
Mom, did you hear that joke?
If you're depressed, try selling your body. might work out for you, just like working for GC.
Oh no.
Yeah, sell yourself into slavery.
Yes.
So that is the solution this whole time. If
Ideal.
you're battling depression, you just have to sell yourself to slavery.
Well, anime, there's a moral in some anime that if you're not going to do anything with your life, maybe you should try giving your life to someone by becoming either a slave or a subordinate or going into the army.
Yeah.
I do see the relation in that. Try to give your life more purpose than what it's what you think it's worth.
Yeah, no, I was joking about senpai lives, but you know,
I'd probably say go into the army before you sell yourself to slavery, though. Just, give
At least
that
you got a
advice first.
shot coming back.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. A shot at coming back.
That's right. Yeah.
Jokes. Also, no spoon feeding.
Sorry. I keep doing it, but I mean, I'm so used to dealing with morons that I just gotta hand everyone the jokes. Just gotta put it on a silver platter and just present it to them.
Yep.
Well, if you sold yourself into slavery, you could literally spoon feed someone something.
Not you.
Yeah,
You don't pay
well,
well.
you see the intention of JD.
poison.
He moved to Rhode Island, he's getting closer to Senpai, and now he wants to get spoon feed for Senpai. Okay, I see. Do you want me and Tori to get out of the call and you guys can talk it up?
Hiki, don't try to deflect. You know I love you.
Well, I'm flattered by that. But unfortunately,
It's the accent that gets him.
unfortunately, we are separated from like an ocean and almost a continent. So maybe one day.
Yeah, but I can get to you though.
I know.
It's
Maybe
fine.
one day.
I'll retire eventually.
One day we can cuddle in the bed together. Anyway,
There you go.
next one. I think that next question is only for JD because he's the only one who watched it. Who's the best Osomatsu from Osomatsu-san?
That's easy. It's Ichimasu.
It's the credits, right? Continue. All right, next.
No. No. I mean, Osamatsu's good just because he's the main character, but Ichimasu's the best, or at least in my opinion, because, well, he's the one that has the most realistic outlook on life, while all the others just kind of joke around the whole time.
Well, JD, how can you have an opinion on this when you haven't even seen the original Osomatsu-kun?
I've seen a few episodes from the 60s one.
Okay.
Take that. And a few episodes from the 80s one.
A few episodes, but you haven't seen it all.
Oh, well, you know what? You got me. My opinion
right.
means nothing now.
Exactly.
That's right.
Oh.
Showed you, boy. What's good,
Yeah.
son?
You should really look up more Hachi episodes because that anime is quite cool.
I will go. I will go to Bergen for $99, and then we'll go to the fjord, and you can push me off.
Yeah.
At least it's only a one-way ticket.
That is also
plan.
a good way of committing suicide. Anyway,
Fly
Throwback.
to Bergen, Norway, to get pushed off a fjord by Tori.
Just make sure you don't go to the wrong Bergen.
I want video, but I want
Why am
video
I
of Tori
Germany?
getting a running start and just drop kicking you in the chest right off that thing. He broke it, my nose.
okay. Unfortunately, we are out of questions. Although we could keep,
Already?
although I think we could keep going on the suicide thing. I guess everyone had some ideas on how to commit that. Not me though. I have a nice life most of the time. But anyway,
Not me, though. I'm so great.
yeah.
Find a nice pretty bridge.
Yeah, dude.
Leave your $4 on for the toll.
Who's the one
Jump
with the
off it.
Almighty in the name? Please, come on. Yeah.
Yeah, the almighty
Yes,
Hiki.
because
Yeah, to read. Yes, right.
come on, leave my last name alone.
Almighty reader. Thank you.
Almighty reader, come on. There's a bunch of jokes in high school because of that. Okay. Anyway,
I figured that much.
Yeah.
That was easy. That's called a layup.
yeah, I know.
That's all dumb high schoolers can do.
I know. Yeah, I know that quite.
Isn't that
well.
right, John?
Okay, but let's go to our first topic. It's a rather short one. It's a quite recent news that came up. It's not the main topic we're going to talk about, but it's quite important. The Oscars early list of nomination, the pre-list, is out, and we have 26 movies for Best Animation of 2017, including 5 Japanese animations. Basically, 4 Japanese animation movies and 1 anime. The nominated, the candidates from Japan are A Silent Voice. Manga, it's quite good. I'm glad to see it on the Oscar list. In the Corner of the World, still.
Yeah, too bad it's KyoAni.
Yeah, it's a good KyoAni movie. Come on. At least the manga, the ending of the manga is not. I'm not quite fond of the ending, but still. In This Corner of the World, Mary and the Witch's Flower, Napping Princess, and the best one of all, Sword Art Online Ordinal Scale. Yes.
Yeah, fuck your
Hell
name.
yeah, we did it.
Fuck
people.
your name.
We did it. We're finally there.
We were talking about it before the podcast, and I only have one word to talk about Sword Art Online. In this case, lobby. A1 probably did a huge lobby to put Sword Art Online in that list. Seriously. Probably KyoAni also did his lobby because, it's Silent Voice. I have some preconceived notions about purely anime movies. But dude, Sword Art Online on the Oscar early list, come on. That screams lobby. That's probably some heavy money behind it.
Yeah,
We're just
no
hating
doubt.
Hiki.
Yeah, sure.
Oh man.
That means that Sword Art Online ordinary
No,
scale.
but my waifu is just the tightest, though.
That means Sword Art Online ordinary scale has a chance of winning the Oscar. It probably is small.
Yeah.
It is probably small, but still, that is quite a feature, being considered to win an Oscar. Of course, out of this list, we're gonna have the nominated list, and I hope.
Meanwhile, Ghibli movies lost.
I hope.
Ghibli movies didn't get Oscars.
Yeah, didn't. Well, one, or two.
One did. But more were nominated and didn't get it against movies that were much worse.
Yeah, I know, because it's the Oscars, and the Oscars are quite a joke.
It's a lot of gatekeeping.
Well, it's very America biased.
Yeah, it's gatekeeping.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
And I think I don't remember having that much of anime or Japanese animation in the Oscars list. Probably because in the last year there was a bunch of Japanese directors that came to become part of the academy. So, yeah, quite interesting. I still need to look up the other lists, but I don't.
Well, Miyazaki's part of the Academy now.
Yeah, there are other ones.
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, Miyazaki is. Although I don't think he voted for
Well,
any Japanese
we all
movies.
know.
To become part of the Academy for the Oscars, you actually just need to win an Oscar, and then you're part of the Academy.
Yeah.
Did Zootopia come out this year?
No.
that's the
Zootopia
thing.
was already.
No.
It was nominated for an Oscar.
Moana or something
It was nominated.
came out this year.
If I can.
A Disney movie came out this year, and that's going to win, almost guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was.
Disney,
going for.
Pixar, whatever.
I don't think so because
Well, I mean,
If it's
it makes
Disney or
sense
Pixar,
because
they
they
win.
are.
That's
They
it.
are.
it makes sense because Disney's the base for anime anyway, for the most
Yeah,
part.
no, but like.
And that's basically continued going forward now that they have Pixar. So Polygon's taking that kind of Pixar-ish approach to making full CG animation, pushing it all the way forward, kind of bringing it full circle that, we follow Disney in.
Yeah.
We are continuing to follow Disney out.
See, I don't think a Disney movie will win because they are getting excluded from some awards because of some stuff that happened, some declarations some CEOs gave, and it was quite bad. So they were kind of banned this year for a lot of awards, and I don't see them winning the Oscars. Although the Oscars are such a joke, so that I really can't say much. But I don't. I
You gotta
don't
remember
think-
how much Disney owns anyway, though.
Yeah, Disney
They
can.
own Marvel,
Yeah, Disney.
Star Wars.
Yeah, Disney lobby force is too good, like too great to be beaten by A1 Pictures. Anyway, so let's
Just you wait for it.
Let's wait. Let's start with our main topic, which is the Netflix investment for next year. That topic, I was the one to choose it, and I think it is important to talk about it because a lot of people already talked about it. It's quite old news right now from the beginning of the month, so you might have seen a lot of sites and content creators talking about Netflix investing heavily on anime. But I watch it as well because I need to go and look up for news and PVs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized there was a lot of misconception and things that are not quite accurate going on because they're not specialists in this matter, in economics and stuff like that. Me as a law student, I have basic economics or kind of intermediary economic knowledge, and I can talk about it. And I think it is important to talk about it, to share a new light on it, because a lot of people were getting kind of work up with the idea of Netflix, like conquering the anime sphere, like becoming this oppressor company, buying every single studio and make the anime industry its own. There was a lot of comments like that. A lot of comments. I heard sites putting that Netflix were investing $8 billion only in 30 anime and 80 shows, which is not true. It's not actually true. They are investing $8 billion to make 30 anime and 80 shows, but there are more to that. So that's...
Well, the thing is, Netflix has big investments in Polygon Pictures. Polygon Pictures is one of the biggest anime studios on the planet.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of that money went.
True. And, but...
Because Polygon does a lot more than just anime, and that's why they went into them.
Indeed. And
basically,
we're going to talk about it, and I think it's important. I have some data with me, and I think it's really important to talk about it, and especially give another light on this subject, because you might be going to YouTube and Vidme, or going to some sites, specialized sites, and seeing some news, and you have this feeling that, oh no, they're gonna act just like other companies try to do with anime, and they wouldn't succeed. And the anime that spread out from those attempts weren't quite good. And then you hear about Netflix making such a huge investment, and you start getting, word that they will sprout a bunch of Dragon Ball evolutions and Death Note movies and Neo Yokio anime. But anyway, we're going to start with a simple history of Netflix. Netflix is an American entertainment company founded in 1997, and they were specialized in DVD rental by mail, also selling DVDs. In 2007, they expanded the business with the introduction of streaming. And in 2013, they started doing original series. The first series was House of Cards, which, by the way, was canceled because of some scandals. So that's pretty much it. In some numbers, in 2015 and 2016, they put $5 billion to make new content, original content. In 2017, it was $7 billion. And next year, they will be at $8 billion. And, you might thinking that $8 billion is a lot of money. Yes, it is. But the numbers of Netflix don't match up. Because as right now, in September of 2017, they have roughly $22 billion in debt. Okay? So you see that it doesn't match up. They have heavy debts. They still putting $8 billion to make original content. They will have 80 original movies, 30 new anime, and that shows that shows that they want to expand worldwide.
Well, they have 22 billion in debt, but they don't have 22 billion in loss.
Yeah, right.
And that's a clear distinction to make.
Yes.
They're still making net positive per year, but their debts are high.
Indeed.
So as long as they maintain a high revenue in, they can get rid of that debt.
Yeah, they can stabilize. The problem is Netflix lost some subscriptions, and all the investment they are most doing overseas and not in the United States. United States still have most of the subscriptions, and they are investing more and more worldwide in worldwide series and worldwide movies. Just to make a comparison, Amazon, which would be a strong competitor to Netflix, this year put out $4.5 billion in making new content, which is way, way lower than Netflix did. So what it comes to be is that Netflix next year will have 50% of the catalog only sold by originals. They are making a lot of partnerships with airplane companies. And in Brazil, we had a interesting thing. They made a partnership with a TV channel to put out the originals on television. And the first one that is going out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the first thing they are putting out is Stranger Things. The first season, dubbed in Portuguese on television. That is quite interesting. That they are seeking out to expand the business. But what?
Yeah,
well, that's the thing with Netflix, because they produce these things. They have worldwide licenses for them.
Yeah.
So they're not restricted by these, like KyoAni. We only give out licenses for North America. So if you live anywhere else in the world, hope you like piracy. Well,
I do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Meanwhile,
increasing their original content definitely gives them a heavy advantage in the streaming service, and the fact that they're creating new shows, not just rehashing old ones, is a very good sign. Because when they do make their own shows, such as the House of Cards, Orange is the New Black is original, is it not?
Yes.
Of Netflix.
Yeah, Narcos.
They have a track record of making these good shows. I'd like to see HBO start doing something very similar, actually, personally. But then looking at their competitor Amazon, they have almost no track record of successful original shows.
Well, they paywall everything to such a high degree, and there's really no purpose to it.
And the other issue with Amazon is if you have Amazon in other countries, their streaming service doesn't apply to all other countries outside of America. I experienced it firsthand in Canada.
Just got Amazon Video.
Yeah.
Go Norway.
It's expanding on
Just got
Brazil
Amazon
now.
Video, but did you get any of the shows is the question then.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
care. I'm not checking them out.
You want to spend $140 for just a video service because you can't get free 2-day shipping, which is the entire point of Prime.
No.
That's it. But tying this back into anime with Netflix and Polygon Pictures, like a lot of that money for the anime budget, as they're calling it, goes into Polygon. And Polygon right now, well, usually they have a lot of deals with Cartoon Network and stuff like that, Hasbro, to make commercials and everything. That's where a lot of their money originally came from. So you have that $8 billion, which is dedicated to anime because it's going to a Japanese studio, but it's really not all going to anime. A lot of it's going to just smaller productions that'll make them money fast, but basically
Get those initial investments back.
Exactly.
Yeah. You see?
And take stock in the company that way.
It seems their goal is to break even first,
and
use the original content shows that they will create to make the profit.
Yes.
Well, then
I'm going to start talking about
go,
Netflix
Hiki.
and anime, like solely anime now, because that is what is interesting to us and where the most of misconceptions come from. First of all, it's not $8 billion solely for anime. It's for everything, but it's growing. Shows that it's growing. Netflix said they're gonna make 30 new anime next year, original
and
anime.
I can't wait for the best series of 2018.
Devilman May
Devilman
Cry.
Crybaby.
Devilman Crybaby.
Yeah.
So
Devilman May
yeah,
Cry.
I would
Devilman
love
May
that. I
Cry.
would watch the shit out of that. Dante.
I really
Ty
want to
Devilman.
play that game again. Anyway, I was thinking about that earlier. people think, oh, 30 is a lot, but you have a bunch of anime in the year, but 30 anime is 200% the amount of anime produced by Netflix until now. Netflix has 11 originals. 11. Since they start streaming anime, they made 11 shows. Next year, they're gonna break 30 new shows. Putting in comparison with Kadokawa, the Kadokawa Shoten, or the Kadokawa Holding, which is one of the biggest investors in anime, they made 11 shows in 2017. So that shows how much money Netflix is willing to put on anime. One of the biggest investors.
But how many of Kadokawa's shows are just bad? Whereas I haven't seen a single Netflix original anime that I thought was bad. Ajin, Knights of Sidonia.
I think Kadokawa.
The Blade movie was fantastic.
Kadokawa is pretty picky with their shows. I think Umaru-chan. But, you know, aside from Umaru-chan, I think usually they are very
the story
successful.
sells itself at that point, don't it?
Kadokawa and Toho Animations and Lantis, which is a newer one that's coming out since 2015. Lantis is very good at launching new bands on anime. But anyway, we're not talking about those. Maybe another episode. So we already have on Netflix next year, Violet Evergarden, Kyoto Animation. That's not an original. They only have the distribution rights. Bones Aiko Incarnation. This is original. DLE Inc. Sword Guy the Animation, also an original. Production IG Be the Beginning. Liden Films Lost Song. Sain Saru's Devilman Crybaby. TMS Entertainment Baki.
Yeah.
State Lights Cannon Buster. Now, this one is a cartoon. It's technically a cartoon. It came from Kickstarter, but Netflix didn't put money on it. It's just the distribution rights. You have Dwarf Studios, Rila Kuma, and Toei's Animation. One I'm excited to see, Knights of the Zodiac Saint Seiya. Now,
More Saint
yeah,
Seiya.
I love Saint Seiya.
The Brazilian like Saint Seiya,
Yeah,
guys. Who would have thought?
everyone likes Saint Seiya here.
Yeah.
Even people who don't like it. But anyway,
Even those religious zealots like Saint Seiya.
let's start with the misconception of that. Is the fact that people think Netflix wants to take over the anime industry. Probably. But the problem
who
is
doesn't?
most of
lot of
sites,
people
most of
with
content
sensible
creators,
thoughts.
yeah, most of sites, most of content creators, they have this idea. He always had this idea, and it's something that bothers me, of big companies being. I'm sorry, JDU from Texas, and I'm sorry from people from Texas, but they think those big companies are this Texas guy who didn't finish middle school because he found a bunch of petroleum and got rich and uses a fucking white suit and a cowboy hat and goes around shooting.
I tell you what.
Yeah, go out in the street shooting Magnums revolvers in the air. You know.
Okay, to be fair, that's Brazil, Hiki. Let's not confuse
No,
things.
that is 80s cowboy movies. You know.
I do
Far
like
West.
this Texas stereotype. You're making a good picture.
Yeah,
Of.
you know, but you know what I'm talking about. That very racist guy most of the times, and
yeah.
don't really care about
No,
all
I've
the
met him.
cultures. I'm sorry, people from Texas. That is, my father is a fan of Far West movies, so I have these stereotypes quite frankly in my life.
You son bitch.
So yeah, they have this way of thinking that those companies are looking at the Japanese market, Japanese market or the anime and going, I see that it's making me some money. I should highly invest on it. And that typical Western VO mind that never saw what an anime is and possibly thinks it's a hentai of some sort. And that is just wrong because those companies, they aren't big because they are full of dumb people. They are big because you have some really important and smart motherfuckers working for them.
Well, the entire point of business is to get as much money back with as little investment as possible.
Yeah, but you see,
and that's the idea.
people think that
So if you can take the entire industry over and make, maybe a little bit more money than that, that's not really that great. But if you can take over 20% and make 300% on that income, you're better off putting in the 20% and letting the rest live itself out.
yeah, that's true because I don't know why this misconception of anime making profit came from, because we know anime doesn't make shit.
Harmony Gold. It came from Harmony
It came
Gold.
from Harmony Gold. Because people are like, oh, Netflix saw anime, made some originals, 11, and thought, oh, this is making some money. Well, 11 in like 3-4 years, that's not much. But, oh, it's making some money for us, so let's invest. Well, let me tell you, last year, the world contribution for Netflix profit was negative. It ranged from -10 to -6. This year, however, with this worldwide expansion, they went up to 4% and 5% in the first 2 quarters. So that means all that investment is paying out now. What they want to do is that they saw the problem that is, they probably saw the problem that is Amazon Prime. And everyone saw that problem, and they are trying to expand worldwide. That also is true for Crunchyroll, for example, with the dubs in other languages. Well, let's stick with Netflix. So, you have those misconceptions, and they think that because of anime, Netflix, the guys on Netflix think that anime has a lot of those dedicated fans that will watch anything that is related to the least, to the little percentage, to the one atom with anime.
Like you.
Like me, but I'm a weird guy. I'm not the one you should be using
Netflix
as
definitely
example.
has a distinct advantage on that.
So yeah,
I see this 20% investment specifically for Japan first, and everyone else second. They'll see how it does in Japan. If they see a good investment, then they have that worldwide distribution to expand that product, which I think is a great idea.
Well, that's the nice part about Netflix. They have worldwide distribution, and they're all digital. So all
It's
they
a
need,
massive advantage over any other company.
so all they need is a server farm, and they already have a gigantic server farm that you're constantly watching when you stream. So, because it's already there, they'll probably wide release it, but they'll see where it gets the most traction and then actually market it in those places.
Yeah, so just an example, it's not Netflix, but how Lupin is marketed in Italy, as an example.
Or Aria.
How Akame ga Kill was marketed in Japan for some reason. Or not Japan, Germany.
Or Fooly Cooly is marketed here like it was in the 90s. It's basically... That's basically what they're gonna do. They're gonna see where anime does well, and that's what they're gonna put in people's suggestion boxes.
yeah,
They're gonna mess with the algorithm that way, and that's how they do advertising.
oh yeah, they have a
But because they have a worldwide distribution service, there's no actual reason for them to not just release it worldwide, because the server farm's already there. They already plan on releasing it worldwide. They already hold the license to do it. They just need to know who wants it, and then put it in front of their face.
Well, they won't put anything out unless it's in dubbed in the native language. That is kind of their policy.
I don't think so.
Yep.
This might change to anime. They were talking about it.
You think it
I
might
think it
change?
might change
It will
with time.
once they realize the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like they're doing it with worldwide. It's not only Japan. You have, I think, 4 or 5 Brazilian productions next year. That is like a record. You have a bunch of Latin American countries also having original productions. So it's not only they're not trying to get over anime, and they are not those mustache twisters guys who are the stereotype capitalist and wants to take over the world and stuff like that. And they are not dumb. They are not looking at anime as Western viewers. People were so concerned with Netflix making 30 new shows next year that they forgot an important piece of news that came out a while back in August 2019. Netflix put out a job offer for a executive director to manage anime content. and it was filmed in the same month. And I have the job's description here. The guy
cool.
who was contracted by to be an executive director for anime content.
Please tell me it's Koshinari.
I don't know. They never said who was contract, who signed the contract anyway. He or she would be stated in Tokyo, Japan, and should be able to source, evaluate, develop, and produce high-quality anime content that will engage all our viewers, track trends and analyze performance in anime and other content categories globally, cultivate relationships and research in local markets in effort to find new talent, shows, and projects, develop a deep understanding of content markets through continuous focus on and knowledge of competitive market environment in anime and other content categories, communicate market trends around the production and distribution of anime and new content opportunities to interact to internal and external partners, which means talking with studios and other production committees and other holdings and companies that make anime. Participate in all aspects of negotiation, financial analysis and forecasting, contract drafting, security requirements, amendments, representing international regional teams across the company, operations, legal, finance, business, intelligence, reporting, content marketing on regular basis and as needed on a project basis. So basically, they try to find out that one motherfucker that worked on the anime industry for more than 40 years to become an executive director just to manage those fucking at least $2 billion that they're gonna be throwing in anime. So no,
That's quite a lot just for one person, it seems.
yeah, they want the best.
Well,
Yeah. I wonder who it's going to be.
as long as we don't get another... I'm glad...
Hiroyuki Shishida, or whatever his last name is. Calling it.
I'm glad Netflix seems to be taking steps like
The
this.
director of Blame.
I mean, nobody wants another Glitter Force to go up on Netflix, which is basically, anime that is disguised as this isn't anime. No. This is American cartoons. I don't know what you're talking
Well,
about.
we might
Looking at
see.
you, Code Lyoko.
We might see some of those. Okay, start with Cannon Busters.
Probably some of them.
Yeah.
So probably some of them, but it does sound like they're taking steps to make sure that it's not only going to be that, because that's the thing I was worried about, especially when Glitter Force went up. I'm like, is this what Netflix is going to do? Like, are they gonna do that, like, the Pokemon thing again, where like One Piece and all that, where it's like, no, there's no Japanese.
No, I do have a strong
Japan.
feeling that that position was filled by someone in Polygon, just because of their close tie already.
Yeah.
Basically, almost treated like an in-hire.
Probably.
And I'm going with the director of the Blame movie, which is Hiroyuki Seshita.
I don't know. I was thinking
I think he's going to be the one to fill the slot.
some executive director from Kadokawa, Toho Animation, some of those other companies, because the guy has connections, the guy has the ways of...
See, the thing is, from a big company like that would have been news.
Yeah, I know, but Netflix...
Like, you can't hide
Yeah,
that.
probably. That's true.
That's why I was thinking it has to be an in-hire, because they're not going to take some director off the street. They want to already have a rapport with him, and Polygon is their closest studio.
Yeah,
So that was my thought process. And they can keep it under wraps the whole time, because it's an in-hire, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm more excited about just the fresh blood in general that'll be introduced into the industry.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
It's all Toei, Madhouse, everything making a good chunk of it, especially in the early 2000s, and a lot of it's become stale. So Netflix could be kind of a catalyst for more original content to just come out in general through the industry. I see this as a very good thing.
I think it's interesting.
We already have a couple studios filling that niche with Trigger, who constantly releases original content. We have Bones, who does whatever they want. But the thing is, they're not really taking new reins. They're kind of just grabbing the reins from the companies they came from. For instance, Trigger's old Gynax.
It's not totally new. It's not a pop to the industry that this is going to do.
Bones is old Sunrise. Like, that's just what it is. So they're kind of just doing what they've always done, but moving forward. But those companies, the ones that are okay already with taking risks and doing stuff like that. What's going to happen is they're going to get fresh blood, and they're going to let that fresh blood do whatever they want. They're going to give them that shot, and it might flop, it might not, but we wouldn't have Cowboy Bebop if it wasn't for, Sunrise giving them the shot that they wanted.
Yeah. Well, I think it's quite interesting. They are playing a lot into nostalgia. We have Project Ico, Sword Guy, Devilman, Baki,
Right.
Sensei.
Yeah.
Devilman.
For the first ones, they got
A lot
they got
of
hold,
70s,
yeah.
80s kind of thing going on.
Sumi no Nihei's work in general.
Production IGB. The beginning, it's Project Bones. I think it was the name. It was very hyped, even before the name was out. It feels very Western centered. So I think it'll be, and it's mystery. I think it'll be kind of fun. They got hold of Violet Evergarden, so like that. That's an interesting future.
IG's, you could tell they're very influenced by Western animation. Just from, like the same thing with Trigger, just from their use of smear frames, smash frames, just animation style that isn't really native to the quote-unquote anime styling. Where, you have to keep your character on model all the time. IG, Trigger, they've never cared about that. Because smear frames look great in motion, but you can't stop them.
Yeah. Talking about Western animation as well, I think this is gonna be a awesome opportunity to Western studios, small studios of animation, to work with those big Japanese studios and even medium Japanese studios, because I don't think Trigger is that big. Because Trigger is a Netflix
Ultra Super
bitch,
Pictures, they're huge.
Trigger's
part of Ultra Super Pictures, they're enormous.
Yeah, I know, but they're not that. They only do 1 or 2 anime per year. I don't think
they're bigger than KyoAni.
I think they will be roughly as company, not as structure, the same size as Kyoto.
Well, they're part of the same conglomerate as A1. Like it's.
Well, yeah.
It's a hard thing to ignore.
They're in the same building. Yes, they bought a building. I remember that. Yeah, so don't look at those news and think, oh my God, the Japanese animation, my Chinese cartoons are doomed because the Westerns are going
The
there.
end is nigh.
Oh, those Westerns will start making a bunch of Japanese SpongeBob, and I don't want that. No. They're smart guys.
SpongeBob.
A company with 22 billion in debt.
Oh no, Patrick. Duh.
Yeah. A company with 22 billion in debt, which is surviving, is not filled with dumb people. So it's not like they saw the Death Note live action movie and saw how great it was, because a lot of people watched it because it was bad, or New York and thought, man, those animal shit, those weeb stuff are making me money. No, of course not. Stop treating those big companies as they were full of idiots. Okay, that is basically my some piece of advice I want to share, and it's something that people usually don't say a lot. Usually they go with this representation that the anime fandom has about Westerns. The Westerns has this idea of Western companies that they are dumb. I don't know why. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So look forward.
The biggest companies in the world aren't full of stupid people, and that's what you've been saying this whole time.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Except for McDonald's. McDonald's is full of dumb people. Well, McDonald's is full of people smart enough to
use dumb people. Yes.
Prey on dumb people, I guess.
Yes. And but let's speculate a little bit, because talking about Netflix a while back, me and Tori, we talked about the effects that this should have. The impacts that the anime industry will have about it, mainly with investments, as we're seeing. As I said, Netflix will make 30 animes in a year, where groups like Kadokawa makes 11 in a year. About the labor, about how the studios will be influenced by a Western company and more Western companies going into the marketing. Maybe how this will affect how the studios perceive the money, because most of the time they survive on DVDs and Blu-rays, and how they also see the other marketings, not only the West, and I'm talking America and the Americas and Europe, but also China, which is a huge market for anime, and other Asian countries. So yeah,
There are more ways to make money digitally now in anime. For instance, you have Netflix, which is a streaming platform. You can make a lot of money through commercial revenue or just the actual services that they provide that way. But you also have Steam, which Steam just lets you straight up buy episodes of anime for like $1 a piece. But it's yours. You get to keep it. That's that.
Yeah.
And with something like that, you don't make as much money, but you also spend literally no money on it. You don't have to have a disc. You don't have to have anyone to produce that disc. You don't need an ISO file. You just need to have the content, and you have to have it in MP4 or however it's going to be sold. I've never really bought one because I just buy Blu-rays and DVDs or steal JDs because I still have a box of them or whatever. But
I need to come get that from you.
There's more ways to make money, and these anime companies, they seem to be really, I don't know how to put it, archaic, because they think, I need to produce an ISO file, which costs, let's just say $30,000.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you've been paying attention to that, like, I understand where you're coming from, and you're right. There are still quite a few companies that do hold on to the Blu-rays, DVD sales. But if you do pay attention to general revenue and general income for anime studios now, obviously streaming has gone way up. It is on the up and up,
but
and that's
not
why
where they
you see
care
more.
about.
Yes, it is where they care about. The main income for anime studios at the moment is actually streaming. That is why they're forcing so many streaming things. That's why Daisuke was a project that failed hard.
Well, that's because they're
and
playing
we're
with
gonna
ass.
and we're gonna talk about it as well.
Yes.
Don't worry about it.
But it's it's why things like Bilibili are huge, which is
That's
Chinese
China.
streaming. It's right. So it's like, and that's why they're as well, just like Netflix, which I feel a lot of people are ignoring. But Bilibili is also getting hardcore into anime right now.
With Crunchyroll
So-
partnership.
I made you watch a Chinese cartoon, an actual Chinese cartoon.
I am watching.
and you
it.
liked it.
I'm not liking it, but it's getting better.
Kuai Shen Gao Shu. That's the well, the one I just said. That's the what is it? Major League Gaming. Yeah, that's what it's actually about. But back on topic. Nope, I totally lost where I was.
Oh, don't worry about
It's
it.
gone.
Oh,
It's gone
the
forever.
impact.
ISO files costing X amount.
Oh yeah. So let's say the file costs, I don't know, $30,000, whatever. Well, to make an MP4 file probably costs $1,000. Like, just spitballing a dollar amount. Because you don't need to have a UI built into it. You don't need to have special features. You just, here's the content. It plays on your computer. There you go. It is $1. And they make that dollar. And that's it. As opposed to having overhead costs, where now you're eating into your profit with your overhead, and then if it's not on track, you now spent more than you were supposed to, which is also just going to keep cutting in to how much money you're going to make on the return. With no physical copies, you don't need to worry about shipping. You don't need to worry about anything being damaged on delivery. You don't need to worry about returns. It's just, here's the digital product, and we are done. Have fun. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you come again and buy more. And that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, another thing that came to be when we were talking about it before, some days ago, it was the actual studios, how they would behave. For example, Tori said that doesn't really matter because they will still pay the animator shit.
Yeah, from when we're talking about the wages thing, the wages situation, people acting like Netflix's stream of money is all of a sudden going to make sure that animators get paid more. That's not how the money distribution works in the anime industry. The money doesn't go to the animators.
That's it. You just
So yeah.
okay. Well, but to I say that no. I think that because of Netflix has this power, this financial power, it although the money doesn't go to the animators, Netflix can say to the production, say to the studios that hey, we have standards and we want the animators to do, work that time, that amount of time, and receive that. If you don't do that, we are not making this anime review. We're gonna search another studio that is willing to take our demands to make anime.
Netflix could impart a more Western style pay scale for animators for products that they directly work on, obviously.
Yes.
But to think that's going to change the entire scope of anime is very, I would say, naive. Like, you have, as I've ragged on about this entire podcast, you have Polygon Pictures where people work 9 to 5 and they get paid for that 8 hours and they go home. That's a very Western style pay scale. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the anime industry, in most part, is just you get 300 yen or $1.50 a drawing, and you work 27 hours every 2 days, and you might be able to eat tonight.
Yeah,
and
might be able to sleep in your own bed.
Oh no! Just do what that one studio does, and just make them pay for their desk, and they can just sleep under it. And there you go, you're good.
Yeah, no, I mean, and even then, it's like, say they could impart a more Western view. Yeah, they could, but it's also important to remember that an animator or an animation in general is a piece of garbage job, pretty much no matter where in the world you are. Western animators are also struggling.
They're struggling, but nowhere near as hard.
They're nowhere near. Japan
they can actually survive.
Yes. Japan is especially bad, but even still, there are shit shows that do happen, and you do still hear, even in the West, of just, animators essentially fucking having to move out because they can't afford to pay rent or stuff like that because, quite frankly, they don't get paid. So even in the West, it's like there are still, there are differences. You have the people that get paid a lot, and then you have the people that are scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Well, yeah, you have directors, and you have and you have artists.
Yeah. Yep. So it's like, even then, and yeah, like Senpai said, I agree. I think it's kind of naive to say that, well, Netflix could go in and change stuff. Of course they could, but ultimately, do I think that they're gonna, and do I think it's gonna have a major impact on the entirety of the anime industry if they do? No, because, well, Japanese are stubborn and trying to tell them to change their business model. That's like...
there are a couple anime companies that seem to be, moving towards people being able to sustain themselves that way. Even if it's just having, earlier, internships almost, like normal anime paid internships, and then you just kind of step up and actually get better pay per drawing.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, not even that. You have, obviously...
Giving proper paths to being a director or an art director or just some kind of supervision.
Yeah, but you obviously have Polygon Pictures and Kyoto Animation who work on, basically the way their animators get paid is they get paid a salary, which is very not how you usually pay animators, but these are companies that can actually do that.
You have Trigger, who's paying
have
franchise money, essentially.
Yeah, and then what you're talking about is this is something that in theory a lot of studios actually imply in that or employ, they use this structure, and that is, you start out as an in-betweener, work your way up to key animator, and then you kind of go up. And that is, even looking at something like PA Works, that's kind of their business model. It's not A1's business model, because A1's business model is,
freelance everything.
Hire people to, hire freelancers to work on said project and then fire them after.
Yeah.
Right. But even when you look at PA Works, right? Let's use PA Works as an example, because this has obviously been a case. Well, it sounds great that, you get to start off as an in-betweener and then work your way up to key animator. The problem is that not everybody's going to become a key animator.
Yep.
And you also need in-betweeners. PA Works has this very, in my opinion, dumb policy where it's within 3 years you have to become a key animator, or you have to you are working for a promotion, and within 3 years you have to get promoted. If you're not promoted within 3 years, you have to start paying for the desk you use at work because they rent the desk, or the desk, your workstation is free up until 3 years later. Then you have to start paying because, well, you haven't gotten a promotion. You're essentially a failed product. And, that's where kind of the process, because while, again, a lot of studios do use this, like, what seems like a very fair thing, right? You're working for a promotion. Of course, that's what, you think most people would. You can't, when making animation, you can't promote all your in-betweeners to key animators. Because ultimately what you're struck with then is a problem of, well, who's going to do the in-betweening? You can make animation without in-betweening. You can. That's called TQ. But let's be honest.
Slayer.
Do you want all your anime to look like TQ? I like TQ, but it's not the best animated. So,
TQ was also made by one guy. So
yeah, for the most part. It's, just to kind of quote the joke from TQ as well. It's like a show that's not even well animated and literally might as well be a manga. I agree.
A voice acted manga.
Yep.
Put it on Webtoon. Get some music behind it.
Yeah. So no. That's kind of, like I said, could Netflix change stuff? Could they make demands? They could. Do I think they're gonna? No.
Well,
I also don't think.
It seems like.
Please, go on.
Please go.
No, you first.
Okay. On a side thing, it looks like anime is kind of homogenizing in Asia, just in general. You have people like Sejun Park from Korea, kind of just coming into the scape and bringing that kind of Korean style like anime look in, or whatever you would call anime in Korea, because manga's manhwa in Korea, whatever. So it's basically kind of imparting that. So I think we're gonna see within the next 15 years, anime is just gonna refer to Asian animation, not specifically anime, like Japanese animation.
Well, Chinese cartoons,
and that kind of
by the day,
and that kind of homogeny will open up different pay paths for more people to get better pay. Because
go just kind of talk about that, because Korean animation isn't, as far as I'm aware, Korean animation isn't really a thing. Like, I'm not saying they don't do it, but it's kind of the same thing as with Chinese animation and whatnot. And that is, they have this weird thing, because a lot of these Asian people that watch animation, they've grown up with anime. So there's this weird demand for, like, just take China. The Chinese government are trying to fund Chinese-oriented studios to make Chinese anime. Basically, they're paying for them to make stuff. However, Chinese studios, 90% of the Chinese animation studios refuse because they want to work on anime, like Japanese animation, for the simple fact that that is what the audience wants. That's where the audience is. The audience doesn't care about Chinese or Korean animation. They care about anime. They want the anime style that they're familiar with. Mm-hmm. And you kind of see that the same thing with manga and manhwa in Korean. Korean manhwa makers and Chinese manhwa makers or whatnot. There's kind of the same thing there. They're very, while they do of course have distinctions, they're very influenced by by Japanese style.
Well, that's kind of where I was getting. That homogeny is going to just, because truthfully, most anime fans don't give a shit where it's from. Just that it looks like anime and that it acts like anime.
Unless they're purists.
Well, yeah, there's dumb people everywhere. people still believe white people are the master race. I mean, that's just dumb. But there's already kind of a homogeny in that sense. Like, you have, Philippine people from the Philippines animating for Japanese animation, and no one cares because no one knows. Yeah. But there's no reason why they couldn't just keep those studios. But they're there because they're cheaper. I mean, let's be honest. That's why you're paying them a dime to the $1.50 you would pay a Japanese person to do one drawing. But that kind of homogeny could kind of just become an Asian style of animation as opposed to just specifically being quote-unquote Japanese, even though really right now it's not strictly Japanese.
It's not even near strictly Japanese.
Yeah.
And I don't think, you don't even necessarily have to only like say, oh, it's going to be Asian animation. Because, like, if you look at, like I said, France anime in France is extremely big, and France is supplying Japan with a lot of animators, like artists and whatnot. A lot of people are taking that career path. Like, I mean, just look at France. Even France has like the West's biggest anime. What's it called? Oh my god, anime convention. Like, they have the biggest attendance and whatnot. So, like, I can even see in the future, like, you know, yes, eventually it's going to become Asian animation, and then eventually it's just going to become animation, more or less, because that's the route it seems to be going right now. Because obviously, it's getting more international, whether you like it or not. That you essentially end up on, well, yeah, international animation.
You know,
Well, I think that could have already happened if it wasn't for the fact that the West is kind of in a renaissance of cartoons or animations at this point. I mean, with the exception of Disney, Pixar, all that, they've always been strong, and they always will be because they're labeled classics, and that's just how people are.
yeah,
But you have certain studios producing things like Rick and Morty, which is wildly popular. You have Gravity Falls, Adventure Time. These are wildly popular shows. They're not anime, but they definitely clearly have very strong anime influences. But if it weren't for the fact that we had this renaissance going on in Western animation, I do think that we would have a more homogenized animation style in general.
well, yeah. You know, when I was talking about Netflix making a change, I wasn't talking not only Netflix, but you also will have Amazon investing heavily in anime in the next 2 years, and also Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll is experimenting with anime right now. So, you know, more and more, we are gonna see on production committees, Western companies. You know, although a lot of people think this is bad, and because they have this idea of Western companies and also this romanticized Japanese view, I think we should look forward to it. I think it's an interesting initiative. I wonder what kind of originals Netflix can do when coming out with going to seek manga authors, light novel authors, visual novel authors, and making anime out of it. I think we could look forward. I think we can even see maybe some manga we never thought it would have an anime to have an anime. Like, I think Mahou Shoujo's side, I think it was, no, Mahou Shoujo of the End will have an anime.
Osama Yo Pun Pun.
Yeah, like, we can have, because Netflix is not worried about having it censored to television, and how the Japanese people, like how the Japanese audience would react to it. So yeah, I think we should look forward. I think we shouldn't have this feeling that a bunch of Death Note live actions and new Joker would spread out throughout that Netflix. I think we should really look out for the next year and then the year after, when anime Netflix on Netflix will eventually make profit finally, and they will more and more invest. The other companies, seeing how Netflix is investing on anime, will invest more as well, and you know how this is going to affect the anime industry going forward. No,
That is a really good point, and it's something that they've already been doing in just regular like television, or whatever they would call television, where they just release basically whatever they want, because it doesn't have to be censored for television viewing. So you could actually see anime from Inio Asano works, as opposed to now it's basically impossible because of his subject matter, how he portrays things, what happens in his manga. And Netflix has a track record for doing stuff like that. You think House of Cards would have showed up on, I don't know, Fox? On regular TV? I don't know what you guys have for cable
yeah, no, I have
around
Fox.
you. I know JD's had Fox.
I have Fox. Yeah, no, I don't see.
Yeah, the only way that would show up on anything would be Showtime or
HBO. And that's it.
If it was on TV in Germany, it would have to be on like SPE after midnight or something. It would have to be designated at such a late hour that no one's actually going to watch it.
Exactly. So with Netflix, we could see a more adult-themed animation, almost kind of footprint because it all depends on what Netflix metrics look like. Like, if most of their series watched are kids shows, they're going to aim for something more like teen-based. Teen, kid kind of base anyway. But if it's, like I assume it is, where they have a huge adult watcher base, which I basically pushed forward through the Knights of Sidonia being produced, which I never thought was going to get an anime. Or blame, after the shit show that was the OVA for that. You think that they're gonna kind of put their foot into a more adult oriented kind of theme, because in the West, which is where Netflix is primarily, we tend to still watch television as adults. We're not stuck in work for 15 hours a day. Well, we're not all stuck in work for 15 hours a day. So adults have time to watch series, and because shows like Rick and Morty, Family Guy, American Dad, all that are already popular, there's really not that much of a stigma between watching a cartoon or a live-action series. It doesn't actually affect the subject matter in America, from what I've seen, for how people view it.
Yeah.
So if we could get an anime for, like, let's say, Solanin, which is Inio Asano, or if we could get a proper, let's see.
Yeah, Mahou Shoujo side, you
that's
have
good
have moe girls cutting each other's heads all out, that kind of stuff, smashing heads and people getting thrown inside of trains and rape and a bunch of things. So like I don't see that going on television, but I see Amazon, Netflix, Crunchyroll, Funimation with Sony and all making those kind of things because they won't be on television.
Well, the last time we had stuff like that going on was in the 90s. We had like Ninja Scroll that was on TV, but it was on late on like Adult Swim. And you had series like that were actually going on. I can't remember the actual genre title, but you have like Lady Snowblood, which is just Kill Bill, if you didn't know. And a lot of things like that where it's just the subject matter is so harsh, but a lot of cultures don't actually care how harsh the subject matter is as long as the story is told well. Whereas the Japanese TV viewing audience probably does, and that's why these things stopped.
Yeah. So I think, in my point of view, going against the other content creators that are out there, I think we should look forward to it. At least be positive, because, again, Netflix is not full of dumb people who are eating paste to survive, okay? They are intelligent, they are smart, and they hired a motherfucking awesome guy to handle anime. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. They will start with a lot of nostalgia-based anime. They are also testing the waters with Kyoto Animations. They are also testing the waters with originals with B, The Beginning, which is a very mature anime, and they are also doing kids things with Rilakkuma from the same studio that did Domo. So for me, in my opinion, Netflix probably will take over the anime industry one day. Who knows? But it won't be that bad,
Well, I do have one prediction, and I think it's gonna be I think Netflix needs to pick up one big studio, but they're not gonna pick up Toei. They're not gonna get anything like that huge. I think they're gonna stick with something that has strong-rooted roots and is a very old studio. So I think they're gonna pick up Tezu Pro. I think they're gonna pick up Tezuka Productions.
Oh, they're kind of cheap right now.
Well, that's just it, because they're a huge company. They've been around forever, but they're not as in the front. They still have talented people working there. They still have people coming up. But I do think that Netflix is going to want to pick up a big studio to go aside Polygon to do a more 2D traditional style anime, as well as the 3D things that they're doing.
Yeah, I think this is the next step. We are seeing right now Netflix trying to be more local with anime. Not only anime, again, I said there's a bunch of Brazilian productions, there are a bunch of European productions being produced next year. They are trying to go local, and I think when they root it in, they will expand that way. They will try to seek in a studio and make a bunch of things. I think Trigger is also a candidate for that, because they have this relationship with Trigger, and they dip kiss sometimes.
but it wouldn't shock me if Netflix does go that route. I was in the same boat of predicting that they would buy a some sort of Japanese studio. I don't think it'd be a big studio like Tezuka, although that's a very good candidate. Regardless, Trigger, because of the relationship, I would say the more likely, because they're still kind of in a feeling out phase. If they were to do this in the recent future, or in the near future, they would probably go with a small studio that's possibly about to go bankrupt,
Like
and get them
Dogo
at their
Kobo?
most cheapest, right? Just someone so bad, and then they just kind of do a fire sale of the staff and get their own guys, like they've done with, and they already have their blueprint with Polygon Pictures. So that would be my prediction.
They don't touch Doga Kobo. Why would they?
Well, the thing is, Polygon Pictures doesn't need Netflix to make money, so they're just kind of basically free money for Netflix. Because Netflix,
Right.
or not Netflix, Polygon currently has a deal going with Pixar for production. They're doing in-betweening, essentially, for Pixar. As you can imagine, that's bringing in a lot of money. I mean, they're basically
Who's heard of Pixar?
they're basically
Pixar's
working
not
with Disney. I mean, they're doing
Who's
pretty.
Disney?
They're doing pretty
Dude,
well.
they're doing Bingo.
That's
Come
kind
on.
of why.
Bingo is the best anime of all. Yeah.
Number one.
Bingo.
Yeah, it's so they're doing well. That's why they're the biggest. That's why they're one of the biggest anime studios. Period.
Especially, I think also all
Alrighty.
that investment will have like the studios will have more freedom to do some sort of things they shouldn't be able if they were in traditional Japanese companies. Just like that's why I think Trigger is working so well. Yep, it's working so well with Netflix. But still, I think we should look forward. I think that is the main, the main idea behind all of these, going against the other productions. Who knows? The future looks bright. What it doesn't look bright or didn't look quite bright is the next topic we're going to talk about, which we're talking about investments. We were talking about good investments, correct investments, and now we're going to talk about bad investments. And when I say bad investments, I say horrible
crisis.
investments, not bubblegum crisis, not yet. We're going to talk about Go Japan, that recently had a piece of news, had a piece of news that said that Go Japan failed and failed hard.
Shocking.
Very shocking. Go Japan is a concept from the Japanese government to promote Japanese culture. Basically, it started the Cool Japan started in 2009, and spotted out some cool, interesting things such as the Anime Consortium, which you might not recognize the name, but it's the name behind the late anime streaming site called Daisuke. And what happened is, this year,
Damn it, Sunrise.
it was 6 anime studios: Toei Animation, Aniplex, Sunrise, TMS Entertainment, Nihon at System and Dentsu, followed with the Bandai Namco. I think Kadokawa was in it at some time. But what happened is, it was a bad investment. Daisuke is over. It's out of deep business, although it's still streaming Dragon Ball. But it is a shame. Basically, it was like I said, it was a Japanese program to promote the culture, the Japanese culture outside Japan. But there was a lot of money going into that. It was basically 25% of the fiscal year of Japan, and that's a lot of money. That is a lot of billions of dollars throwing out in the trash can in this case. So
bad.
So why it went that way? Basically, people got blaming how complicated things were because you had a lot of ministries taking, being there. So someone's
Yeah, there wasn't a singular entity tasked with the responsibility. It was seemingly 7, 8, 9 of them instead. So it was really just a bad structure all around that caused such a failure.
Yeah, not only that,
for something that's supposed to be a cultural.
Yeah.
Go on.
Not only that, but there was a lot of corruption cases. The guy who was managing the Go Japan, he was kind of fond of some industries and some companies. And what he did was basically nominate a bunch of people from those companies to, be behind of those cultural export programs. And also he kind of sexual harassed some female employees.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of how FIFA goes about their business.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of comparisons.
That is quite true. And that is also quite sad because when Daisuke came to be in 2013, everyone was happy. At least I was happy because it was free anime. I saw the Idolmaster Cinderella Girls on Daisuke. Also, because of Go Japan, we had something like the current governor of Tokyo, the woman, I forgot her name, but she went to cosplay events, cosplaying as Tezuka characters, and said she wanted to make Tokyo become the anime land, the so-called anime land. And, it's kind of sad because you see that although it is true that the Japan has this culture, and especially the anime culture that is huge outside, they don't care. So it's kind of interesting, especially when we were talking about Netflix, where a Western company, seems to care more about anime than Japan itself.
It's also a singular entity with a singular responsibility and a singular goal.
Yeah.
Well, Daisuke's kind of been reborn anyway as High Dive, which is just free anime for the world, essentially. You don't need to have a subscription to watch anything. And they seem to have a...
Except not for the world.
But it was a streaming service made from Japanese to the world. It's something we don't see quite often.
Right. Well, all right, this seems to be going.
Right.
We've definitely talked a lot about what we got. Hiki, you got anything else, or shall we move on?
No, we can move on.
The main topic. Yeah. All right. Awesome. It was very informative. I didn't speak too much personally, but I was heavily invested in the conversation.
Yeah, it was just me talking about how people shouldn't treat
This
those
is the best
companies
talk
as
I've had on
dumb
this
people.
podcast in 3 weeks.
So, Hiki, bring us into our anime discussion.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss 2 animes. Well, 2 seasons of the same anime. They're called Bubblegum Crisis and Bubblegum Crash. Someone please give.
They certainly are.
Give
All right,
give the
I'll take
specs of
over
the
then.
anime because I'm kind of busy right now.
Okay. So, Bubblegum Crisis is an original work brought on by a combination of Studio Artmic and AIC. And I believe Studio Artmic had the license to go with it. So it was their original idea. And this happened, and just as a little background over the studio, Studio Artmic was a heavy OVA studio in the late 80s and early 90s. All they did was OVAs. They didn't do series. They didn't do movies. They basically stuck to 3-episode shows, more or less. And it's an interesting one because what happened later, which we'll get into, is what ultimately happened to Crash. Then there was a bunch of small spin-offs from what Bubblegum Crisis is, this world that was created, and even a reboot in the late 90s. So Bubblegum Crisis takes place in kind of this future new Tokyo after some earthquake. They don't really go into it too much at all. They just go, here's this
2032.
Yeah, here's this big city. It's in the future. Robots have been made, and they're supposed to make life easier for humans, and they call them boomers because it gave a boom to society. So very simplistic explanation there. Well, at some point, these boomers, whether it's a virus or their AI is becoming corrupt or something, it's not really clear what's causing these boomers to go rogue or go crazy. So this specific police force was created for this. And we've seen many anime since then, even around this time, where an AI goes out of control and a police force has been created specifically for this group. So, the first Bubblegum Crisis took place across 8 episodes, and it was supposed to be 13 episodes, but it was cut short because of this struggle that was going between the two studios working on them.
And when you say two studios, you mean 2 guys in the basement, right?
Of course. What else would it be?
Drawing with crayons.
Yeah, because that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah,
when I watched that show, I was like, this seems like it's made by 2 people, in their basement, with bringing their voice actors down there, doing whatever.
I would say at least
I
6 people.
I don't know.
Well, there
At least 6.
So, yeah, there was at least 6. So the studio has a long history of small staff, which is kind of why they're pretty much not really around anymore.
Shocking.
For kind of a good reason. They didn't seem to go above and beyond what they were meant to do, if that makes any sense. They would have an idea, make a short show, make a spin-off of the short show, make another spin-off, but never go anywhere beyond what they've already created, no matter how good it was. Before Bubblegum Crisis was Megazone 23, where the first episode was great. Then they completely changed the art style and the character designs, and the story then went into the far future twice. They do things like that, so you could be heavily invested in the show, think it's really good, and then something just comes crashing down.
And then it's
See what I
just
did there?
ass. Immediately just fucking terrible.
Just like Bubblegum Crash.
That implies it was ever good.
That is the general opinion of it all. That's what happens. The studio has a history of it. And now we've seen something along those lines firsthand. Now, what the studio is very good at doing in these original works is creating this cyberpunk-esque world that really grabs you in. It's very gritty, and things explode for seemingly no reason, and buildings have to go down.
The 80s.
What it seems to be good at to me is making a 45-minute episode feel like 7 hours.
Yeah.
So 2 of us liked Bubblegum Crisis, and 2 of us did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, two of us are crazy, 2 of us are
That's
not.
right.
Well, 2 of us are crazy, and the other 2
And as the
has
suicidal tendency
very-
songs go, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
I'm being institutionalized.
2 of us are crazy, and the other ones have
So-
bad taste, basically.
Right. So what's going on with these boomers is in the background there's an extremely small subplot going on where an evil organization or person or
The
something
same company.
is behind. Yeah, well, is behind these boomers going out of control for seemingly no reason other than to make mass profit on war. But again, not really clear at all. This company is called Genome Corp. So kind of like a play on the word of gene. It's a mass-produced biomechanical group that has made their multi-millions creating the boomers themselves. Well, the police force that's supposed to be tasked with protecting the populace from these machines going out of control can't really do the job. They don't have the technology to battle them. There's a lot of just kind of them being lazily around because crime other than boomers is pretty much absent.
Yeah.
At least that's what they say. or they just don't care about other crime.
And
So there's an episode dedicated to looking at it this way, where these biker gangs are essentially just going around beating people up and causing mayhem, and the police don't do anything because it's not
it's not their job.
really important to them.
You're talking about the AD police, and the AD police only serves to combat boomers, although they can't do shit because they don't have the equipment. But you also have the actual police, but the actual police don't do anything because you have the AD police. And since you have the AD police, they leave everything to the AD police and don't do shit. They explain it on...
Well, the AD police are essentially just the UN.
Yeah,
I
so
guess.
you definitely see a lot of the problems in this world and where the future lies. I thought in subtext it did it very well. Maybe some other people didn't see it that way. But the main crux of the show, the main focus is on kind of this rogue group of four women who pilot, or would you say pilot? I would say maybe
They fight.
These,
they fight with mecha suits.
They fight in these big mech suits. Yeah,
Well, they're
and they call themselves the
exosuits.
Night Sabers.
Yeah. I would just say they don the exosuits.
Donned exosuits. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very
Just like Garo.
They donned exosuits. They look really cool. What made this anime very prominent at the time was instead of a group of 4 or 5 people, which were generally all guys, kind of the whole Saint Seiya
And one girl.
thing.
The Pink
Maybe
Ranger.
one girl. Well, this was just a group of women protecting, and it started with one girl one girl at the time who had a tragic past. We never find out really what it is, because Bubblegum Crisis and Crash don't really want you to see the overall plot, more or less just focus on the plot of each episode. Plot. I use plot loosely. They're just self-contained stories within a vast universe, so they can create these things infinitely. I think that was the whole idea behind it. That wasn't executed well at all, hence the early cancellation. So this group takes it upon themselves to protect the city, and self-contained stories ensue, and that's essentially the crux of Bubblegum Crisis. And you see it more in
Good guys
Crash as
beat
well.
bad robots. Rinse and repeat.
Okay.
Oh God, Tori! You
Good
just
girls
hated
beat
this
big
show.
bad.
The first 3 episodes of Bubblegum Crisis, it has a story going on, okay, about Ganem and how they are producing.
It's all about the piss building.
The piss building comes out later, okay?
It's all about the piss
You have
building in Anon's
Anon's
bar.
Yeah, you have Anon's bar. But basically,
Hey, that's from a different show. That's from Nadia.
Bar 4chan.
bar for. Basically, in the first 3 episodes, you understand why the bombers are going out of control. Most of the time, is because of the same company that are producing them. What they were trying to do is cause mayhem in a part of the
It's
city.
because of Nene's grating voice.
Go on, Hiki.
Fuck you, really. Did you really interrupt me to say that? Come on.
Yeah. It's tradition.
Okay, yeah, I can find the tradition. So basically, they are causing this mayhem to in a part of the town where they want to basically flat out everything and build a industrial thing, like an industrial park. Because of that, the same boomers
Right.
they are doing, they're also doing some boomers to. Sorry, they are doing some boomers and new boomers to, show that the AD police are full of incompetent people. They won't do anything, and those areas are so dangerous that you should just sell your house to the same company that are doing those boomers, so they can move in and make this industrial park. This is basically there's
even a dedicated episode to that, where one of the main girls lives in a building, is very close to a lot of these people. One specific mother and son, I believe, And
Yes.
what ends up happening
The
is
dumbest-
Ganem just goes, "We're just gonna buy the land.
Dumbest death of
Get
all.
out."
Oh, the dumbest death. Oh my god.
I'm gonna run back in when they're tearing it
Yeah,
down.
no, that was bad.
I forgot my money.
So the show is filled with kind of cheesy moments like that where characters' motivations don't make a lot of sense. However, the show is best described as being super uber
Yeah,
80s.
of course. Dude, the AD
You think
police.
something 80s, the show
Robocop.
has it.
AD police is the definition of the law enforcement at the 80s, you know. You have they
yeah, 80s police.
don't have uniforms. They're usually using jeans and some jeans coats and with these sleeves of the t-shirt roll up.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that the show did consistently was have just synthesizer crazy 80s music
yeah.
throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of the higher points for me personally.
I enjoy it as well. Don't worry for me, especially because one of the girls is a singer.
Ah, yes, good old
Piss.
Piss, the lead singer.
Please, come on.
Yeah, Priss.
Yeah, Pissu, yes.
Yeah, so the four girls and there's one member of the AD police is kind of a recurring
The
character.
AD police.
His name's Leon. He just kind of always like kicks back to him in the office and he's got his feet on his desk going, "God, get 'em, those assholes, right? Am I right, guys? No?
Guys,
Just me? Seriously?
look at all this boomer
All right.
crime.
We need to investigate Gannon. 80s black fat man,
Nah.
old black fat man guy in the desk. No, they are too powerful. You shouldn't do that. But you know, if you want to do that without my aval, I will look to the other side of the room as you leave, and I will leave the keys for the fucking mecha suite on my desk in a place where I can see it. Oh, that is so 80s. Holy shit.
Yeah. No, there's even a bunch of cheesy lines where he's like, "But I'm like 4 years from retirement. I can't be messing with
Yeah.
that."
Oh my god, I love it. I simply love it.
Yeah. Cuts to another episode. Leon just kind of chirps him on. "Yeah, you're like 4 years from retirement. You don't want to do that, right? Put your feet back on your desk." But I really liked all the members of the Night Sabers themselves. There's Priscilla the singer. Nene works at AD Police, so she's kind of the hacker, behind the scenes girl. You got Celia, the main rich girl who fights along with them,
And is a
then,
scientist.
Lena, right? She's the one that also helps design the suits as well.
Helps.
Hmm?
Nothing?
No?
Go on.
Leon is like the worst possible version of Baoto. Really. It's Ghost in the Shell.
And then yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I got you.
And then you have Lena, who she's kind of just your average everyday girl.
No,
essentially.
she has the most
with money,
80s job of all.
Things.
She's an aerobics instructor. Oh, the scenes with the bow jiggle. Oh my god, amazing.
Hey, she started working
Yeah,
in
but
the
that
stock
was
market.
way later.
for one episode. And then
I'll have
then
you
she
know.
loses a bunch of money and she goes, "I resign." So the good thing is I never got the feeling of a self-insert character.
I never got the feeling of any characters.
Come on, Tori. You're just
okay.
hating. You're just
They never truly went into any sort of backstory of any of the characters. As you watched the show, you learn more about their personality and how they interact with other people. Like that was kind of their backstories weren't really all that important in as opposed to just going along with that self-contained story each episode was. It's a very episodic show.
Yeah, true. Although
Now, is that a bad thing?
I think it is.
I'd like to hear what.
In my opinion, first, I like the show. It's very 80s, so like, but the lack of background to the characters were kind of bad because you have a singer, a badmouth singer, a aerobics instructor, a policewoman who is quite incompetent, to say the least. A rich scientist,
And a scientist.
a rich scientist woman who sells clothes, and how they know each other, and how they become the lightsabers. That is something that it is missing in the show. They will never talk about it.
Well, no. Celia's father the head
developed
developer
the
on
boomers, but they never explained.
Yeah. So he's got basically the patent to it all.
Why Priest or Priscilla is a lightsaber? Why Nene was chosen to be a lightsaber? Why Lena was chosen to be a lightsaber? They never say about it. Who is the doctor or the Hakase
there was
from
a lot of
the garage? Who is Maki? They never say about it. Why they know each other? How the lightsabers came to be? Because that is very important. But they just ignore it. That is something I felt it was kind of bad, especially because you had some episodes that really didn't connect and didn't have a lot of story behind. The subplot behind it, like the bike gangs and the guy with the modified car. That episode, although it tells a little bit about one character that never shows back again in screen, it doesn't make a lot to the subplot. And I think they could use one episode like that to talk about the backstory of the lightsabers.
Yeah. The show and the studio, being that their history was make a short OVA, have a spin-off for said OVA or the universe. So the rumor / prediction was they were going to have 13 episodes, very episodic, kind of touching on that subplot, and then probably have a spin-off of each character individually and how they became a member of the Nightsabers, which is why later in the 90s we saw a reboot of the series, which a lot more story and a background over Lena, her character.
But then it got cancelled.
Got canceled twice.
Okay. My problem my problem is with that show is that, again, even for a short OVA, they have the focus, even like what Hiki said, it's rather than focusing on the characters, rather than trying to develop them, rather than giving us some important information, like where did they come from, like how did they meet, how did they come to be the Nightsabers, that is glossed over. 4 episodes are just a guy with modified car, fucking girl who tries to catch the Nightsabers, try to get photographic evidence of who they are, unless you eventually give up on that and be like, I have the picture, but we're friends.
We're friends now. Here you go.
The thing,
girl power.
The thing, it bothers me so much, that show. It bothered me on a lot of different things. Like I said, I completely disagree with you with the fact that there are characters in this, because I don't think there's any part of these characters that carry over from episode to episode. I forget their backstory, forget where they came from. Oh, we learn how they treat other people. No, that changes from episode to episode how they treat other people. It seems incredibly, it's all encapsulated in that episode. I have nothing against episodic anime, but when basically everything gets encapsulated within that episode, including what these characters are and how they act, and then that changes in another episode, that's not an episodic show. That's an episode. That's a show without direction or anything. They have no idea where they're going. I despise, the girl voicing Pris, for example, because she is, I'm just gonna, she's an awful voice actor. Obviously, she's not a voice actor. She is the girl she's like a singer who did a lot of the openings and endings for the show or for the OVAs. She's not even a voice actor, but they decided to give her main role because why not? That's also the only role she's ever done. The other voice actresses did not do a good job. Leon's voice actor was terrible. The visually, the show looked bad. Even for a late 80s, early 90s show, it looked awful. That's why I joke around saying it looks like something 2 people made in a basement, because, quite frankly, it does.
Well, you're the guy who watched 9 seasons of TQ, I guess.
And then they managed to also do the thing where they then make Bubblegum crash, and it looks worse. How How do
So
you do
that was the case. That was the case of the two studios that were originally working on Crisis breaking up, and then Artmic working solely on Crash to try to finish the series in their view. So they obviously lost a lot of their best, a lot of the best people working on the show. The background art definitely did go down quite a bit. A lot of rehashed scenes you saw started cropping up. A lot of rehashed introductions, which made Crisis very interesting just to draw you in each episode, if you liked it, of course.
You see, that's not exactly a compelling argument because as it is an OVA, it doesn't really have a super concrete schedule for release.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying that's what happened.
Yeah, but there's not, like, there's no reason that them having less people would have affected the outcome because they're not under time constraint.
They were also hit with a lawsuit at the same time from AIC for continuing the show and using their original idea.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't see the said spin-offs or even a reboot until the late 90s.
Good job.
Yeah, so there was a lot of garbage that went on internally and externally with the show.
Basically, just to get that, they continued the story without consent?
Yes, essentially. They said, we're done.
Retarded?
Yeah, they said, we're done, we're going to do this anyways, and we're going to finish the show in the way we think we're going to do it. And yeah.
No, they should have just not. They should just stop, because they didn't do that they didn't do that show any service whatsoever by continuing that.
Well, I think
Let me just...
Crash downgraded, yes.
Please.
But like, it feels different. It definitely feels different, especially the boomers. On Bubblegum Crisis, you can't tell what is a boomer, because usually they come with this human appearance, and on Crash they are actually robots that malfunction and are not very intelligent. So like,
well, they basically started showing boomers as robots more, as opposed to them molding with society, which was kind of the issue all along
As
in
opposed
Crisis.
to AI.
Right, but they did touch on that in the second episode of Crash, where it focused on a new type of AI put into a robot called Adama. So I think that was kind of a play on Adam in some way.
you think?
Adam, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, it's just my own theory about it. Yeah, because they like play on words so much. And that whole episode was you could see where they wanted to go with it.
That was actually probably in reference to Astro Boy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They really wanted to take a lot from Astro Boy and just make it super 80s.
Super bad.
Well, I'll go back to the beginning on how I feel about this. First off, this is not a short series. This is like 7.5 hours. So let's get that right out of there. Second, the voice acting was, like Tori said, just awful. I hate Nene's voice. Pris is aggravating. Honestly, the other two weren't even memorable, so I didn't see him long enough to care. I would have dropped this series at episode 2, because episode 1 felt like it was 4 hours long, and it was 45 minutes. And,
wasn't it 55 minutes?
Whatever. The art was mediocre at best, even for the time. The animation was... It wasn't great, but I mean, for an OVA studio, you expect a lot more anyway. Because, like I was saying earlier, they're not really under time constraints. They have basically a year to work on an episode, and no one's going to bat an eye at it. Whether or not that is the case is irrelevant. Let's see. How else did I feel about this? The story's nothing. There's no story. There's no carryover. Basically, I agree with Tori. Essentially, is what I'm saying.
Well,
see, I didn't.
That is a story. Come on. Although most of it's
no, there's not.
Most of it, like the problem with the story is, like I said, they don't show the beginning of it. So, like, we discovered on Crash that Celia's father was
the problem with
murdered.
The problem with the story is they decided there was a story at episode 7.
No, I mean, at the end of episode 3, the guy from Ganon, which was killed by these lightsabers, but AD police doesn't care because the boomers are not doing more than any damage. And I guess it's not a crime to kill a bad guy. He says, "Oh, it's you, Celia." And then at the end of Crisis with Largo, he also goes, "Oh, it's Celia," and you're like, okay, so Celia is connected with the Ganon and those people for some reason. Then in Crash,
Celia's got that Yoko kiss of death.
I guess, kind of. Then you go to Crash, and on the second episode you have this huge piece of information that her father was a scientist, got murdered. Then one of the assistants that produced Adama was also murdered, and the murder was the Dr. Yuri, I think.
Third scientist.
Yeah, which looks like a Street Fighter character, but still, he was also one of the assistants, and he was trying to get the handle on the new AI. And then you go back at Largo at the end of Bubblegum Crash. So yeah, you have this story about Celia and how she is related to Ganon and how she is related to boomers. Although you don't see much, you kind of you don't need to pay a lot of attention to see the story because the story is there and they really slap you with that from time to time. But it doesn't make sense because you don't know where the story are coming from and you don't know where the story are going for. Because again, the problems that this series have behind them. Still, there is a story, but you don't know how the other lightsabers are related to this story. Still, you have one. It's just not as good as could be.
Right? Yeah.
I feel like this could have been this could have been consolidated all the way down into like a 2.5 hour movie, and it would have been a lot tighter. The problem is you don't know if that's what would have actually worked for the production, but I feel like there was maybe maximum 3 hours of content in this 7.5, 8 hour series.
Basically, I feel like, and even then, you say there's information. Yes, and I agree. There is that stuff that about Celia and how she's tied into this. But I feel like, let's just say they don't change anything, and it still is the way it is now. Why not condense that out into more? Rather than slapping you with the information at once, why not just condense that into the other episodes and give you less at a time, but actually make it feel like you're progressing towards something? Because you still can't take away from the show that most of the time this is just lightsabers kicking robot ass. At the end of the episode, at least, because the beginning of the episode makes, that could literally not have been there. It doesn't matter.
Aww.
There's nothing.
There's Leon. There's Leon kicking ass.
Eventually, just works up until they fucking.
He
Leon
did kick
kick
ass. Sometimes. He had a fucking awesome
he's
gun.
Shoot at something and is shooting at it only to see that it doesn't work. Isn't kicking ass. Like again, for effort. He's trying, but he's not actually kicking ass.
80s police. I don't know what you're talking about.
Even when he went into his fucking robot and starts, kicking slide ass, he eventually gets overrun.
He needs the robot eyes first.
Anything and everything can be attempted to be solved by my big gun.
Yeah.
If he had the robot eyes, he would have solved the problems. He wouldn't have even needed to call the major.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
One of my major gripes about the show, which was the concept of time, like how much time has passed through the episode. Or even between episodes, it was never clear.
15 years and 0 hours.
They just kind of mention every now and again that, we've been friends for months, or, this is even worse than 6 months ago when this dude, made a crazy car on the highway and ran over bikers. So you're like, okay, so 6 months passed between that episode. Okay. Because there was one where one of Lynn's friends, aerobic friends, gets hunted down and assassinated. And pretty gruesomely.
The sexoid, yes.
But she has this crazy emotional scene, and then she's wanting revenge. You're like, well, us, the audience, as far as we're concerned, only about 5 minutes has passed. Or 10. But to the characters, we have to then suspend our disbelief that they've been friends for months. And they don't really say that until the end of the episode. We only know each other for like 6 months. Oh, it was so short. Or another one where Pris has a biker friend. We have no idea how long they were friends or interacted with each other, while the beginning of the episode introduces this character that's only showing up in this episode and has this crazy backstory that they just don't really go into very much. You just have to... The only way to enjoy the series, really, is to just see it as Tori said, girls kicking boomer butt.
Yeah, because...
And I'd rather watch Tokusatsu than this.
Major, but
At least that's entertaining.
Because it's
Oh,
the
like-
same thing.
also, if you keep analyzing it, there are a lot of other things that doesn't make a lot of sense, because the Night Sabers, they actually commit a bunch of crimes. Breeze is straight up
Oh, all the time.
Breeze, like as
Like
as
murder.
Breeze, not as like Night Saber number 2, because they are all Night Sabers. They don't have numbers or specify names. Breeze, she stole a bike from a guy. Meets Leon, and she goes home with a stolen bike. No one gives a damn about it. Also, they have
Yeah, it's cyberpunk
this
future.
future. Yeah, this is the
No one
second
cares.
thing I would point out. They have this awesome technology, but most of them look like 80s technology, like the printers and the monitors. So it's quite funny.
Yeah.
You have an arcade at the end, because the police, the AD police, changed the shooting range for just these arcades, and they look very 80s.
Yeah.
First off, I could never
I mean-
get over Nene screaming every time she was hit or confronted in any way inside of the exosuit. I could never get over that. That was so aggravating.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that her sole purpose on the team was to be the insider.
Yeah, that's the only
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
she was there.
And they did
And not
try to
get
keep
speeding
her out of the
tickets.
fights. They did try to keep her out of the fights as much as possible.
Up in the crash.
Yeah, and to minimize Pris's speeding tickets.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Essentially. By the way, speaking of things that doesn't make sense, at the end of Crash, when they're facing their greatest opponents yet, those 3 fucking robots. Can I just point out the fact that they get up and they turn the table. Typically after getting the shit kicked out of them, they eventually manage to turn the table on them, and that is fine. But can we just talk about the fact that Pris got stabbed in both legs and the arm and gets back up and fucking destroys this thing that's been kicking her ass for the entire
I don't
episode?
remember that. I don't know.
I'ma
I don't
get
know what
you,
you're talking
bitch.
about. I don't remember
With
that.
2 legs and an arm that isn't functioning, she can turn the table on this.
After getting that ass beat.
It's the 80s. Come on.
Yeah. It's like,
She-
it
Tori,
makes
not
no
only is it the
sense.
Eye
80s,
of
but
the
she overcame the
80s.
odds.
Come on.
Yeah, really did.
And you forgot about that whole perfect cue of nice 80s synthesizer music.
I don't care
Because-
about the 80s
okay,
guys synthesizer
Largo-
music.
That is all you need.
Okay.
no.
I remember something. I said earlier this week that Bubblegum reminds me of RoboCop. But there's this
Yes,
movie, I
you
think
did.
it's from the early 90s, that talks about the what is the name?
Is it the
Virtual
Matrix?
reality. No.
Matrix, isn't
it's
it?
like this guy at the end, he gets with a girl and they become a soul body inside of the thing, and it's a horrible CG. There's a movie like that. That is the end of Bubblegum Crash. Oh my god, Largo trying to become one with Celia. That fucking shit is so 80s as well. Basically,
I actually played a game for the Retro podcast called Snatcher. And playing that and watching Bubblegum Crisis and Crash at the same time, there's so many parallels to it.
You should have
Just
just played
imagine-
Siphon Filter.
Imagine playing Bubblegum Crisis the game, but as Leon. That is Snatcher, essentially.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is AD Police,
Should
got
have
it.
just played Siphon Filter. At least it would have been good.
There is a spin-off series called AD Police where it focuses on Leon when boomers were first starting to roll out.
Thanks, JD. That was the joke.
Yeah.
Jokes are best when explained.
Like I think although Breeze fighting with, her legs stabbed and one arm stabbed and stuff like that. I think Largo way of fighting then was damn funny as well. Basically Largo was the last enemy from Bubblegum Crisis. He was a guy. Mm-hmm. He was a normal guy. He transferred his mind to a boomer and put inside of his head the commands for the United Nations. Awesome laser beam that is in space and start destroying the city. He got crushed, but then you have Bubblegum Crash, and he is also the last enemy on Bubblegum Crash. Celia goes to fight him, and what he does is uses these tentacles to get inside of the suit and try to manipulate.
Ooh.
Yeah, tries to manipulate her mind to become one with him. And then the same thing started happening with the other girls. But Celia, in 80s style, just said, no, I'm stronger than you. My mind is stronger than that, and repels it. Also, at the same time, there's a nuclear threat going on. So, like, because...
Can we just appreciate that cliffhanger they left us with when Celia takes over Germany and she is still remembering his words of humanity is destroying the world.
Humanity has declined.
Humanity has
right.
Humanity has declined is better
It
than
is.
this.
Well, yeah, at least it's watchable.
So, I actually watched the late '90s one, the rebooted series, and it focuses more on a singular plot and story, and it focuses around Lena, her character, and how she became a member of the Night Sabers and fighting boomers. I honestly didn't like that as much as this.
Oh, that's sad. There's no 80s music then, I guess.
Turns out that
no, there's I had a lot of issues with how they went about that reboot, and it makes me very happy that something as simple as just making it super 80s was enough to entertain me solely based on that.
No.
Dude, come on. Breeze singing in the first episode with that clothes and the synthesizers, the hairs.
No.
Oh yeah, it was such a great intro. I was immediately hooked.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna like this.
It was so long. She kept singing that chorus for fucking ever. It's like, God, stop.
Tori, this is why
please.
she hasn't gone pro yet.
Because she sucks.
Yes, learn from you.
Right.
She had a chance. She could have been an idol, but she
Yeah, that's
decided
true.
not to.
She could have become an idol. It'll be a very interesting show.
From an episodic show point of view, not focusing on a subplot or the characters, I took it for what it was, and I had a lot of fun watching it.
I took it for what it was too. That.
Well, I can look it up as an episodic show, because if I look at it as an episodic show, they fail hard, because you have a lot of subplot things. You have 3 episodes for one story, then 1 episode for one story. So it's not quite the best episodic example. Going as a hybrid, I think it's better because I like it. So I'm trying to make an excuse to say, to find a way to say, hey, look, if you look as a hybrid show, it's kind of better than looking solely on episodic show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have a blast watching it. I don't think it deserves a big score, but still, it is entertaining. If you like 80 shows, if you like 80 movies, this is your show, definitely.
I do like both of those things, and I don't like this series.
Come on.
Let me tell you something. My nostalgia for this series was crushed immediately upon watching the first episode.
Oh, that's a shame. I have no nostalgia for it. This is the first time I'd watched it.
Yeah, me too.
It went from, I think I rated it like a 7 originally, and now it gets a 2.
Wow, that's really harsh.
No, it earned a 3, but I fucking hated it, so 2.
Ah, bummer. So Tori, what was your combined score for the 2?
This is when I shock everyone. No, I'm not joking. I ended up giving it a 5 because despite all my problems I have with it, when watching it, I wasn't that annoyed. I'm more annoyed thinking back on a lot of things.
Okay.
But at the same time, it did nothing to entertain me, which is a problem. But when I was watching it, I was sitting there with a problem of, I don't hate this at all, which is why it gets a 5, but I don't like it at all.
That's fair enough.
Yeah,
Hiki?
I gave it a 5 as well. It's one for each thing. Music. Well, music. I think music should have a cheer. Because the music was good. Come on. At least the music was good. It was 80s music. So I guess a 6
Why
now.
isn't a 1?
2 for music, 1 for the rest, and 1 because I really enjoy it. 6, but the Crash one goes with a 4. Because I don't think it deserves anything on animation point. don't deserve animation points. So yeah, a 3, then a plus 1 because I also enjoyed it. Although it has a lot of problems, especially because it is so different of Bubblegum Crisis. And a lot of things that Bubblegum Crisis established, they demolish. So yeah, that is not good. When 2 seasons of the same anime conflict, I don't think it's good, and I guess the problem is in the second season or the first one. So a 6 and a 4.
Wow.
It's a 5. All right.
The no surprise, I am a total mark for this kind of show. And
That's a very big surprise.
are you surprised, Tori?
No.
I'm
No.
a mark for this show.
I'm a
case you
mark for the
forgot.
show. I absolutely adored Bubblegum Crisis. Crash had a lot of glaring issues, like Hiki said. It just made it really go down. That last episode, as much as I liked the last fight, the episode itself wasn't very good. I saw way too many glaring flaws, and it just wasn't as good overall. I adored the music from the very beginning. That kind of locked me in from the very, very start. I did like all the characters, despite poor voice acting, despite just a poor overall arcing story they were clearly trying to go for. Despite all that, I still end up giving a combined score of a 7. So, a 2, 2 5s, and a 7. So we're kind of all over the place.
I think that gives us a 4 average? 4.8, so a 5?
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm right.
a combined score of the Red Leaf Retrocast gives it a 5 out of 10.
I'm kind of regretting that feeling.
Oh, come
It is
on.
too much, Tori.
It's not. It's not.
It is.
Should have
It's
given
not.
it. Can I change? Can I change my score?
Nah, man, it's too late.
Yeah.
On the books now.
80s music,
Fucked
80s
up.
police, 80s mecha fights, 80s cyborgs, 80s cyberpunk. Come on.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to gauge if
4.75,
someone
that's
would
right.
highly enjoy the show or hate it, because I'm a mark, Joe's a mark. We have vastly different opinions for it. Yep, rounds up to a 5.
Yep.
Hiki enjoyed the show, sees its flaws, just like anything else. So it's a 50. I say it's a coin flip if you like the show or not.
Yeah, but
It all depends on whether or not you think, buildings being destroyed is cooler than story.
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
In this
Depends on if you're a taste or
case,
not.
in this case, I was on that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really reminded me, now scoring it, it reminds me of how I looked at the anime short we watched in a previous episode, the Neo Tokyo.
Mhm.
Very similar how I was just
the
mindless
psychic
80s
guy on drugs.
actions.
That one.
Yeah, the psychic
Okay.
guy on drugs driving the car in the
Yeah.
death race.
See, that was way cooler though.
Yeah,
I
let's
got
I
very
guess.
similar 80s type vibes.
They
Yeah.
might be in the same universe. Probably not.
Doubt it.
So our next episode will be number 13, and it'll be covering the original Lupin the Third series.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
it's
already seen
something.
James
It's something
Bond.
I've watched, but I won't be here.
Lupin.
Yeah, I've already seen James Bond.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Hiki won't be joining us. He's
Yes.
got many, many more important things going on
A
in
lot of
reality.
tests.
He doesn't like us. He just doesn't like us. That's
Hey,
the
I
thing.
watched
And then slated after that is finally the Satoshi Kon Spotlight.
Yeah, boy.
Because it will be December, month of Christmas. We'll be talking about Paprika, Tokyo Godfathers, reviewing Elderly Person Z. Ha! I'm going to stick to saying that.
So are we going to watch these together?
We totally could.
Totally
I
could.
guess.
Merry fucking
possible.
Christmas.
And I've never seen Tokyo Godfathers or Paprika, so
Oh, I've seen Tokyo Godfathers.
I've seen
got some work
Paprika,
to do.
not Tokyo Godfathers. Well, I think I've watched it.
Oh, this could
I
be
need to
great.
order
Yeah,
Opus.
I've watched it.
I need to watch Paprika.
Yes, you do.
so.
And Elderly Person.
We got 2 good episodes on the horizon. This has been
But nothing
Bubblegum
on the
Crisis,
dawn.
guys. And I'm going to put some crazy 80s music from the show on the beginning and end.
Yeah.
And if you're on YouTube, haha.
And if you're on YouTube, I'm sorry you can't listen to
Yeah.
the music.
You get nothing, you lose.
I mean,
Good
we
day,
can
sir.
we can afford being prohibited in some countries, but I don't think we want you.
Thank you all for joining us, and that concludes it.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Peace.